And Aswegen says there is a special prize for South African citizens for this month.
We've increased capacity from 19 visitors per cable car back in 1929 to currently 65 visitors at a time. And also, the very first cable car took a long time to travel to the top, about 10 minutes. The current one is quick, 3 to 4 minutes, and then you're up here. As part of the special celebrations, we have a special 95th anniversary promotion for South Africans. They get to pay 195 Rand per ticket online. The ticket can be used weekdays between Mondays and Fridays, and it runs throughout the month of October.
Recapping the top story this hour, Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwagube says she's awaiting a response from National Treasury to see how to deal with the budget cuts and other infrastructure challenges facing the education sector. Headlines at 3:30 for SFM News. I'm Dinoma Taung.
Coming up in news sports this hour, Proteas women kick off their ICC Women's T20 World Cup. Soweto Marathon struggling to sell entries, and Crusaders confirm ex-Wallaby signing. More details at 3:30.
Jon Gericke on SAFM.
Hello, it's that time of the afternoon again. It's 4 minutes past 3 o'clock. Tumi's back with more sport later on. We'll find out about that Soweto Marathon. I get sweaty just thinking about running a Comrades Marathon. Welcome to the show. It's going to be an interesting one today. Let's get going with the first hour. We'll tell you what's coming up in a moment. There's the big news that happened this morning. Former KwaZulu-Natal Premier Willie Mqunu has resigned from the African National Congress. We will be talking to him, and we will ask him a couple of questions. Why did he leave? Where next? And what does he think of the government of national unity? Just 3 questions to get going. If you have questions for him, of course, you're always welcome to ask. Our Global Watch today we're not going that far, really. We're going just around the corner for maybe 3 hours, 4 hours from Joburg. Lesotho is celebrating 58 years of independence today, 200 years since the founding of the nation. There is a French connection. It's like the movie. There's a French connection with Lesotho, which I didn't know about, and we'll find out together today. So I'm going to talk to the French ambassador to South Africa, who paid a visit to Lesotho. Also, the curator of the Marija Museum and Archives, about what is happening in Lesotho. 200 years of independence, very much involved with a French connection, and they've also put a documentary together, 8 parts, into the origins of Lesotho, highlighting the wisdom and leadership of King Moshoeshoe I. So we'll focus on that in this hour in our Global Watch. Then we will get another update on what is happening in the JSC, the Judicial Services Commission. Today, the High Court's hearing urgent applications launched by MK Party against the JSC. They're seeking to interdict the Commission from sitting in the absence of its parliamentary leader, Dr. John Hlophe. We will talk to an attorney of the High Court about what the process is there. After 4 o'clock today, I'm looking forward to this. There's been a special investigation by News 24's Jeff Wicks and Ivan Pijus. Is that hopefully the Pijus? Whistleblower hit squad, secret cell phones, prison connections, and a fast food frenzy revealed. So we'll talk to the journalists about that story, and we'll direct you to their story so you can read the whole thing. But we'll ask them, give us some background about what else is happening. And then there's the cricket. South African women against the West Indies. I see South African women's match is over already. I'll leave that to the sport later on, and we'll let you know exactly what happened with that. And then the other Proteas, South Africa up against Ireland. South Africa looking good. We'll have all of those details for you later on in the program. As always, traffic and business and sports and news coming up throughout the program, and your opportunity to engage as well. That phone number, 086 000 2032. Give us a call, 086 000 2032. And you can send us a WhatsApp voice note as well. That's always open, 0614 104 107. Let's get the nation's pulse. I'm Jon Gericke in for Ashraf. Good afternoon.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.4 FM in Hermanus.
Okay, while we're waiting for that, do get in touch. Love to hear from you. As always, the phone numbers are open. The WhatsApp lines are open. I don't generally look at WhatsApps anymore because we don't get a lot of WhatsApps since the correction. I don't get SMSs. as many as we used to because things have changed. People have moved on. And I'm just going to, I will have a look at SMSs. If you do want to send us an SMS, it's going to cost you R1.50, and you can send that to 41391. No free SMSs apply. It's going to cost R1.50. Oh, you see, they don't come through very much. There's 2 that went to Sakina earlier today, nothing this afternoon. WhatsApps is where we have a look, and you're welcome to send it there. And don't forget, and I keep forgetting to promote this, and I really should do it more often. All of the interviews that we do, all of the things that we do here on the station are available as podcasts, and you can find that on our SAFM website, where it's you can find out everything you need to know about the station. In fact, you can go to the competitions, you can see the schedule, you can see Ashraf's face for the National Pulse because it's his show, and you can find out all about the presenters, all there. There's the fat picture of me, but the important thing is the podcast. If you click on the podcast button, right down at the bottom, all the interviews are there that you can find. You can listen to things that you might have missed in the morning brief, or the talking point with Kathy, or Update at Noon, or even the show as well. What's our last one we got there? More than 17 million people applied for the SRD grant. Remember we spoke about that yesterday? If you missed it, give us a call, or go check out the podcast, www.safm.co.za. Quick break, and then we're going to be finding out about what's happening in Lesotho today, celebrating 58 years of independence.
Ngaba Mapete on SAFM.
I mean, we're shining the spotlight on road carnages and the number of children who die in accidents.
It is a very, very necessary conversation to have. Our children are extremely vulnerable in traffic, and every day between 7 and 8 children die on our roads as pedestrians. And it doesn't make the headlines, it doesn't make the news. Even Nelson Mandela's own grandchild died in a car crash.
Yeah, that's right. On the opening of the World Cup in 2010.
His son died in a crash. Who? Nelson Mandela's son.
Uthembekile, that's right.
Many years ago, yeah, he was in jail. He wasn't allowed to go to the funeral, if I remember correctly.
That's true.
So nobody is excluded from being a victim of a road crash.
Peggy Mars, founder of Wheel Well.
Tuesday Takeover on The Viewpoint. You are listening to Jon Gericke on SAFM.
12 minutes past 3, there's Lesotho celebrating 58 years of independence and 200 years since the founding of the nation. Let's look at the bilateral relations between Lesotho and France and how the Mountain Kingdom continues to preserve and promote the legacy of King Moshoeshoe I. On the line, French Ambassador to South Africa, David Mortinon. David, thank you very much, Ambassador, for joining us this afternoon. What's the history? What is Lesotho and France? How far back does that go? Is David not there? All right, we're moving on to Mama Kwena. Are you there? All right. Is that Mama Kwena Makena?
Okay. Can you hear me clearly?
I can. It's not great, but let's see if we can have the conversation. Mama Kwena Makema is the curator of...
Okay, I'll remove it on loudspeaker. How do you hear me now?
All right, we seem to be having 2 lines there. All right, so let's sort that out, guys. Let's sort out the technical aspects. It's fun. It's a Friday. Then why not? Hey, did you see in the newspaper? Oh, I'm looking forward to this conversation. Man, I'm going to have fun with this. The Joburg the Department of Transport is, along with the Joburg Metro Department, Metro Police Department, have vowed to use a new 3-strike system to crack down on unroadworthy vehicles. They say that if you have, from Wednesday, or they said this on Wednesday, any vehicle with 3 or more defects will be immediately discontinued from operating on public roads. This is what they say. I want to see if that really, really happens. And I'm looking forward to having that conversation about which targets or which vehicles they will be targeting. Is it all vehicles on the road? Is it just some of them? So I'm looking forward to that conversation. All right, let's see if we've got Mama Kwena Makema is the curator of the Marija Museum and Archives. Let's talk about Lesotho. Mama Kwena, thank you very much for joining us. Tell us about the relations in this new documentary you guys have put together.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Mamukwena Makema, and thank you for recognizing us at the Marija Museum and Archives. The relationship is that as the Marija Museum and Archives, we are responsible for the archival holding of Lesotho that dates back from as early as the early 1800s, probably even prior to the arrival of the missionaries, because they started collecting whatever that was here that they would write back. But the missionaries, which were French missionaries that came from the Paris Evangelical Missionary Society, first arrived in Lesotho in 1833, invited by King Moshoeshoe I, the founder of the Basotho Nation. And that was the beginning of the relationship between France and Lesotho. Because when he invited them, he did not just invite them as evangelists. He invited them to become what you call advisors. He was seeking their advice and wanted to understand from them how to relate or how to deal with encroaching other white people, which were maybe Afrikaners and British, that were eating into his country. So that the relationship was just more than about this reverends coming here as evangelists. It was about understanding other white people, because the world was quickly changing and a lot of white people were beginning to come into our territories.
How did you find this archive material and the stories about this?
So, as I said, the moment they arrived, first missionaries in 1833, it was Goselin, Kasali, and Aruse. They started writing about Lesotho. They started documenting everything in the Western way. They started writing, they started recording everything in the form of paintings, landscapes, indicating what the place looked like when they first arrived. Even the second batch of missionaries, those that came, we call them the second generation of missionaries, carried on collecting and collecting. So our archival holding was first started to be put together as archives, I think around 1840, by both Ellen Berger and Dieterlen. So they have been collecting ever since. So the archives have been here ever since, and that's what forms part of our archival holding.
Is there anything surprising that you learned?
Something surprising that we learn every day. Every day I'm shocked, because remember, or if you don't know, we have Lesotho started writing the earliest newspaper in the region, called Lesedinyana, meaning the little light. In French, they call it Le Petit Lumière. And this Lesedinyana, the first copy was in 1861, and it's written in Sesotho. Because Arpse learned Sesotho very quickly. They learned Sesotho very quickly. I think it was Mabile who learned Sesotho very quickly because he married Kasali's daughter.
Right.
So in this newspaper, they write everything and anything that was happening at that time in Lesotho. Some of the findings shock me. Even most of us, when we go and study, whether abroad or whatever, we have to refer back to that Lesedinyana to know historically what was happening in our country as far back as then. So the surprises never end with what we find in these archives. Like, I'm always shocked. Sometimes they like shocking me and they will bring me something. I think the archivists enjoy shocking me. They will just bring me something and say, read this. And I'm like, my jaw drops.
Most of this and the whole point of this is to promote the legacy of King Moshoeshoe I and just the hard work he had to do. And obviously using these missionaries, or working with the missionaries to, as you say, navigate those difficult times in the 1800s. That legacy still exists today. Do Lesotho people still recognize King Moshoeshoe as being the creator of the nation?
Basotho, that's why we call ourselves Bashweshwe. I don't know if you are aware. Meaning his people. Bashweshwe. So most of the time we refer to ourselves as Basotho, yes, but if you're a Mosotho, you call yourself Moshoeshoe. We call ourselves Moshoeshoe as singular, in singular, but we are Bashweshwe because we cannot separate ourselves from Moshoeshoe. Even in the film, one of the professors that is interviewed calls us children of Moshoeshoe. We are children of Moshoeshoe. every single Mosotho identifies with King Moshoeshoe, because we understand what he did. And when I talk about Mosotho, I'm not just talking about Sotho-speaking people. All people that live in Lesotho, there's this inclusivity that you have, because immediately after he descended on Thaba Bosibu in 1824, other small groups, other clans started attaching themselves to Basotho. That's why they are also called Basotho. We have Xhosas, we have Batlokwa, we have an array of people. We even have some Zulus in the bellies, an array of people, but they are all referred to as Basotho because they are the people that attached themselves to him, even Maputi, that attached themselves to King Moshoeshoe, and all those people recognize him as our king.
It was fascinating. I was doing a search on the country, and when you type it in and you find out, the first thing that comes up in Google is, why does Lesotho exist? It's almost an anomaly. The small little space in the middle of this massive country, landlocked. It's the highest country on the planet. It's a fascinating history of a country that needs to be remembered.
You know, the ambassador of France puts it so well. I listen to him every time he talks about it. Says this man was intelligent. He's a force to be reckoned with. Says you read history all over the world. You don't know anyone that did what he did under the circumstances, and he managed to secure. It's such a wonder. How did we not get consumed into South Africa? But he was certain. The funniest thing that Basotho talk about all the time is how he would tell Queen Victoria that, no, you're protecting me and I protect my people. So there's this saying that he said, you take me and the lies, meaning those small lies of my blanket. But what he would say, if you read some of the letters that we have, because remember that our archives include all those letters from as far back as he started communicating with the British. He was very adamant. He gave the Major Warden and them in the Cape Colony a hard time. They were so frustrated by him because he would educate them that no, you're not my rulers. I communicate with your queen, and your queen is protecting me, but I take care of my people. And I think it was his courage. He was a brave man, and he was strategic, he was intelligent, and he was determined that nobody is going to take my country or my people, and he maintained our sovereignty, which we are celebrating today as we celebrate 200 years.
Where can we see this documentary, The Kingdom in the Sky?
It is to be available online. Alliance Française is going to make it available. I'm certain that we also, as the Museum and Archives, are going to make it available on our website as soon as we access the link on our social media platforms, both as an Alliance Française and I think the French Institute in South Africa and the embassy. It's going to be freely available for everyone to access.
Thank you very much. Help me with the pronunciation. Mamakwena Makema.
Mahema. Like in Arabic, yes, Mahema.
Like Gericke. You see, I should have got that. Mamakwena Makema. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for having us, and we appreciate this opportunity as the Maruja Museum and Archives.
Thank you very much. She's the curator of those archives.
Attention all caregivers of children. Are you and your children's vaccinations up to date? Vaccinations can prevent serious diseases and prevent hospital stays. Protect your little ones by getting them vaccinated. Don't wait until it's too late. Talk to your healthcare provider today about getting your child vaccinated against serious childhood diseases. Because health matters. This message is brought to you by Sanofi and the National Department of Health.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll know your car's value in no time. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
TS Galaxy Queens are chasing a vital win to breathe closer to the top 3 teams. However, TUT Matsatsanza want to have a good day in the office by grabbing full points. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Witness the Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. TS Galaxy Queens FC versus TUT Matatsantsa Ladies FC on Sunday, 6 October at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sports on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
You're with SAFM's 24 minutes past 3 for the next few minutes. Let's talk to Willies Mqunu, who former ANC member now. He resigned from the African National Congress. Let's find out why. He joins us. Willies, thank you very much for joining us. Why did you leave the party?
Well, I have indicated to the party that I've taken that decision solely based on my considerations of whether I can still make contributions and add value. I don't believe that I'm at that stage now. I'm more critical now of many issues than being constructive. Now, I don't want to be a destructive member of the ANC.
Are you not being listened to, Willies?
It's not about being listened to. It's whether you believe that the organization is still going in the direction that you respect and you believe in. Now, but there are going to be times when people disagree with you. Now, it's up to you then to decide whether you want to stay within that environment or you just want to leave. If you want to leave, you leave. We live in a democracy where you are free to join an organization and you are also free to leave. And that's what I've just exercised, that right.
You feel that the ANC's commitment to pursue the national democratic revolution is not ongoing. Do you have issues with the way the direction the ANC is going at the moment?
But I have issues with whether a government of national unity in its current form can pursue a national democratic revolution or not. I do not believe that at this stage that is possible because of the divergent ideological positions that exist there, as well as policy positions on many issues. So rather than try to change that or try to influence the change in that, it's much easier to allow those who have taken that decision, who believe in that decision, to then pursue that decision in the best manner they can, without me whining on the sideline. It's also not fair to me as well. I mean, when you are contributing to politics, you want to be convinced that all the arguments that are against the positions that you are putting are valid arguments. And you believe that, fine, I can stomach them. But I don't believe that I'm in that position as yet.
It's interesting you say that because the many times I've spoken to leaders, I've spoken to listeners who say once you're in the ANC, you're always in the ANC, and I'll support them till the day I die. And we've heard that from former ministers, former members of parliament. But you've made this alternative decision. Was it a difficult decision to make?
Well, it is a difficult decision, but you must also remember, I've also said those words in the past. But we're not now talking as a situation where it's the ANC. Now the ANC with other parties. That's a totally different scenario. And it dilutes some of our thinking. But in my view, I mean, to answer your question, not an easy thing to leave an organization that you have served for this long, and in which you have also been a part of leadership. It's not easy, not an easy decision, but for peace of mind and for your own conscience, it's much better to opt out. And if there are any other alternative views, alternative platforms and processes, rather participate in those platforms and processes.
That's going to be my next question. Where's to next for Willies and Cluno? Are you joining another party?
I haven't as yet decided where to. Of course, I'm still engaging with some of the leaders of the ANC in the branch, in the province, in the region. I'm still engaging, and as soon as we reach a situation where I'm saying we have engaged enough, I will then take my decisions of where to go.
You're staying in politics and still working. You're not retiring.
No. Retirement in politics is determined by your death. Because why should I retire? I'm old enough to be in retirement, but I'm also not well enough physically. So all of those, if you combine them, they can influence me to call it quits. But what happens if I'm then better tomorrow? And that's the experience I've had. I've had an experience where I've been very unwell for quite a while. But then all of a sudden I'm better for a while now. Whilst I'm better, my passion is within politics. So I don't think I will retire. I will contribute. I will find a way of contributing. And by the way, I'm still a member of the South African Communist Party. I don't think they will say I must leave my membership because I've left the ANC.
Okay. Well,
maybe then when I make a new choice, maybe it would be a choice the South African Communist Party does not agree with, and therefore that would force me to then resign from the South African Communist Party as well.
Willies, we need to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. Willies Mkhunu is a former ANC member. He tendered his resignation of the ANC today.
For the headlines at 3:30, I am Dino Mutaung. Good afternoon. The NPA has welcomed the sentencing of Ekurhuleni serial rapist Nkosi Nathi Phakathi to 42 life terms. The High Court in Palm Ridge, Ekurhuleni, also handed Phakathi 591 years imprisonment and 6 months. In other news, the Competition Commission says it has observed that essential food prices remain high at Plattekloof Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Tumi, you got your Proteas shirt on. What'd you say?
And I'm all smiles.
Smiles with pride.
Smiles with pride.
Tell us why.
Well, a very good afternoon to you, John, and our listeners. I'm smiling because the Proteas women beat the West Indies by 10 wickets to kick off the ICC Women's T20 Cricket World Cup on a high. South Africa had won the toss and they elected to bowl first. The Windies posted 118 for 6 in their 20 overs, and Nonkululeko Mhlaba took 4 wickets, while Marizanne Kapp taking 2 on her side. And in reply, Captain Laura Volvard top scored with 59 runs off 55 balls, while Tasman Brits hit 57 off 52 balls. So a great showing by the ladies, and definitely this 10 wickets is going to help them moving forward in terms of their run rate. But still staying with cricket, the men's Proteas side are also in action. It's the second ODI against Ireland. South Africa won the toss, electing to bat first, and just just looking at the match on TV, waiting for that score to come up. They're sitting on 164 for 2 after 28 overs. Verreynne and Stubbs at the crease, and we'll keep you up to date with what's happening on that side of things. In rugby, former Wallabies playmaker James O'Connor signed for Super Rugby powerhouse the Crusaders, with the Kiwi outfit calling him world class. Now, the 34-year-old, who made 64 appearances for Australia, struggled with injuries last season, which saw him largely relegated to a mentoring role at the Reds. He opted out of the new contract with the Australian side, sparking interest from the 14-time Super Rugby champions, who had their worst campaign in more than 20 years last season. Then moving on to football, Orlando Pirates assistant coach Mandla Ntikazi says that he's well aware of the threats that come with playing Stellenbosch FC as they prepare for the battle in the MTN8 final tomorrow. Pirates will be looking to make it 3 out of 3, and Ntikazi says that for them to win the cup, they will have to overcome everything that will be thrown at them.
The stats are supporting the game they are playing. When you look at stats, they're the most counter-pressing team. The team that is very strong on transitions. It still is. It's up to us. While we are aware, like I said, how we deal with that on the day. But we know their strengths, and we have to deal with that to put our hands on the trophy and win the match. But like you have pointed out, we are aware. Titus, his strengths, we are aware. Even in the absence of Reyners that has gone, the structure has not changed. So the ability of them enjoying to defend, because they know the price of winning the ball after that, we know. So it's two contrasting styles. One team is more possession-based, one team is prepared to sit back and go on a transition. Whether you can have good offensive surveillance and win the ball, it will depend on match day. But I'm very optimistic that we can deal with that situation.
Well, moving on to marathon matters, with just a month remaining, the Soweto Marathon is facing slower than expected entry sales. And despite this, the organizers, Soweto Marathon Trust, along with their partners at Africa and Back, they're not alarmed. The race is scheduled for the 3rd of November at Nasrec and has sold 15,000 entries, with a revised target of 23,000, down from an initial goal of 25,000 due to time constraints. On the 30th of September, SMT extended the entry deadline indefinitely after surpassing 10,000 entries, and spokesperson Thokozani Mozibuko remains unfazed by the slower sales pace, expressing confidence that more runners will still sign up.
Well, I wouldn't agree much that it is a struggle. If you follow the pattern of people entering the races, especially Soweto, our people have got a tendency of entering at the last minute. And we have done our comparison. Compared to last year, we were just above what we were on this time around. Just to answer your question, we have decided to extend the entries, and just on the verge of the announced closing, the entries started to pick up. So we hope that we will get to the numbers that we are anticipating.
Then finally, in tennis, world number 1 Iga Swiatek has split with Thomas Wiatrowski after 3 seasons working together. The 43-year-old joined Swiatek's team as a coach in 2022 when she had 1 Grand Slam success to her name. Now, Swiatek became the first Polish player to reach world number 1 in April 2022 and has spent 123 weeks at the top of the rankings. And from what I hear, she's on the lookout for a new coach. John, why are you not buying your ticket to the Soweto Marathon?
No, I was just because I'm going to go coach Iga Swiatek. No, I'm not. I'm just looking at the Soweto Marathon website now. The 3rd of November. To me, you and I have just short of a month to train for a marathon. We can do that.
We can.
At our age.
I mean,
how hard
peasy.
can it be to run 42 kilometers?
I mean, that's easy stuff.
No, it's not. I can't. I did 7 kilometers the other day. I had to sit down for a long, long time.
Sure.
42 Ks. I know that 7 can be divided by 42. Come on.
No.
7.
Wait, let me start here. How long did it take you for you to do that 7 kilometers?
1 hour. 1 hour.
Not bad.
That's not bad. So that's a 4-hour marathon.
Is this you? Are you being for real? That
No, for
you took
real.
1 hour for 7 kilometers?
Yes. 7 point something. I can't remember what it was. Yeah. See, and nobody believes me because my GPS didn't work. Yeah, it's like I'm like a fisherman.
No, nobody believes you because you look like you drink beer every Saturday.
TV camera will disagree.
Jokes.
No, it's fine. All right. It's that kind of relationship. What? Because I got 2 more days of this left. That's why. I'm going to tell Ashraf. It's 20 to 4. You with SAFM.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, noma uphumaphi, and no matter your favorite dish. See if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
Andile, the CEO of a multinational corporation, is driving home with his daughter.
Dad, why is the tooth fairy so stingy?
Stingy? Well, she makes sure everyone gets something.
Does everyone at your company get something?
Yes, they're covered by Old Mutual Corporate's employee benefits.
Even Abdul?
Of course, he gets retirement benefits.
And Sisampo on that big machine.
She gets group risk cover if that big machine hurts her.
Wow, that's amazing, Dad.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Get those lucky numbers ready and play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 77 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. Play Powerball for an estimated 31 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 46 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120*7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old to play responsibly. E2 is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
It's time to crown Miss World South Africa 2024. Tune into S3 this Saturday, the 5th of October at 8 p.m. as Miss World South Africa 24 takes center stage on S3. This year's pageant will be taking place live at the Sun City Super Bowl and tickets available at Quicket. Channel your inner star with the 2024 Miss World South Africa finale this Saturday, the 5th of October at 8:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation. You are listening to Jon Gericke on SAFM.
John in for Ashraf. Good afternoon to you. If you've just joined us, coming up in the next half hour or so, we're going to talk, in fact, in a moment, we're going to talk to Project Medical Coordinator for the Doctors Without Borders in the Gaza Strip. We're going to go into the war zone and find out what it's like there. Then we will talk to an attorney of the High Court about that court case that's currently undergo, Umkhonto weSizwe Party against the Judicial Services Commission, seeking an interdict the commission from sitting in the absence of Dr. John Klope. Later on, secret cell phones, prison connections, and a fast food frenzy revealed by Jeff Wicks, a News 24 investigative journalist, a veteran police officer standing accused of being the mastermind behind a hit squad connected to the assassinations of a whistleblower. Then, the roadblocks. Hey, what's this 3-strike system to crack down on unroadworthy vehicles? The JMPD saying, and I want to say this again, any vehicle found with 3 or more defects will be immediately discontinued from operating on public roads. I say you're right. You're right, but we're going to find out. Is that true? Will they really do it? And then we'll get another angle on Willie's Mqunu, who has quit the ANC. I see there's a lot of reaction from you on the WhatsApps and on the Twitter as well. So we'll get a view from the political analyst. I think we kind of know where he's going. Between you and I think you know, and I think I know, and I think most of the world knows where he will go. But let's talk to a political analyst and see what views he has. It's all of that and more coming up. It's 4:45.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.2 FM in East London.
Let's talk. This is horrendous. Let's talk about, it's almost the first anniversary of the October 7th attacks. Let's talk about what's happening in the war zone in Israel and Gaza and that area with Frederica Lezi, a project medical coordinator for Doctors Without Borders in the Gaza Strip. Frederica, thank you very much for joining us. If you can, paint a picture of what you are experiencing at the moment.
Yeah, I'm a pediatric surgeon, and I work with Médecins Sans Frontières in the central Gaza, in Deir al-Balah, in Al-Aqsa Hospital. The situation in the area changed end of August when an evacuation order was issued by Israeli forces, urging people to flee. What happened? There were heavy explosions near the hospital. Many choosing to leave the area, and the strategy is similar and repetitive: bombing around the hospital, evacuation order, complete isolation of all facilities. This is what happened end of August. In September, we had really a very important situation with limited human resources and limited medical supplies. You have to consider that for months, Al-Aqsa Hospital has been the only hospital supporting the central part of Gaza. In response...
No, go ahead, please tell us.
Yeah, in response, Médecins Sans Frontières team, in coordination also with the Ministry of Health, have quickly opened a field hospital. We started to operate it in a field hospital, so we had an emergency department, surgeries, intensive care unit. We front a severe lack of supplies and resources. Of course, the field hospitals are not a solution. They are just a last resort to provide urgently needed medical care. Any field hospital would replace what was a functional healthcare system in Gaza.
The visuals we're seeing is just that of wreckage and ruin. Is the hospital still able to do anything sustainable, or is it really just field work as if you were in the middle of a war zone?
Look, the hospital was a real field hospital, so we worked inside the tent. We had 2 operation theater inside a container. We have an ICU inside container. I mean, we started to work in very poor condition with the limited resources, limited supplies that continue, because you know what happened is that the humanitarian delivery system has been obstructed. Humanitarian aid and entering Gaza not in sufficient quantities to meet the immense need of devastated population. This is a bit of the picture.
Besides, obviously, the war injuries, for lack of a better word, it's the explosions and burns and broken bones. You're fighting with disease as well. Tell us about that.
Was a disaster. You know, for the high rate, I can give an example. For the high rate of infection and the lack of surgical and medical materials, like simple antibiotics, the amputation for children, I talk about children because I'm a pediatric surgeon, becomes the only viable solution. It's not our choice, but it's the only viable solution. Of course, it's not the solution for the child that desperately tell you, I don't want to live without a leg. You know, after amputation, the children are in pain all the time because lack of painkiller, and sometimes we have to choose the amputation because we don't have the material to reconstruct the limb.
How are medical supplies, if any, getting in to where you are?
Our medical supplies come from the border that is open. That is the only one. Karem Shalom is the only one open at this moment. Eretz in the north is completely closed. Rafah is closed. So the only viable way is that one, is Karem Shalom, in which pass all the material and all the stuff.
And how, it's a personal question, Frederica, but how are you coping? How are you and the other surgical and doctors and nurses managing and coping with this trauma that you're experiencing?
Palestinian people, as I said a million times, have lots of resources, lots of, invention. We managed very well some kind of operation just to use the material that we have in the strip. Really the condition is not good because, sometimes we are forced to trade the patient in the floor of the hospital, but with the material that is inside the strip, we invented a lot of kind of operation, kind of recovery, kind of physiotherapy, and so on.
There seems to be no end in sight. What goes through your mind every morning when you wake up?
Bombing every time. I feel all the night and all the day bombing, but the most noisy is the drone that is 24 hours a day, 7 days on 7. I mean, you never stop to hear the drones upside you. Of course, the tremble of the heart during the bombing is another thing that you can feel. You can smell a lot of there is a particular smell in war environment that is a mix of blood and power and bombing. It's something that really it's not possible to describe, but it's something that is always present. It block like your breathing sometimes.
It's been a pleasure speaking to you, Frederica. Thank you very much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
And the best I can do is well wishes. I'm emotional. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
You are listening to Jon Gericke on SAFM.
7 minutes to 4 o'clock. The High Court in Johannesburg is hearing the urgent application launched by the Umkhonto weSizwe Party against the Judicial Services Commission, seeking to interdict the commission from sitting in the absence of the MK's parliamentary leader, Dr. John Gericke. Let's find out what their case is like with Modidima Manya, admitted attorney of the High Court. Modidima, thank you very much for joining us. Does MK have a case here?
Yes, good afternoon and good afternoon to your listeners. Look, I'm just a bit astounded at an application of this nature. You know, aside from the fact that Dr. Gericke is not going to sit there by virtue of the Western Cape High Court, ordinarily, even if he is present, it's not going to make a difference in terms of the decision. He's not the decision maker of the JSC. I wouldn't understand why in his absence then the JSC cannot meet, because he's not the JSC. So in that context, I think it is a bit of a problematic application.
I see part of this application, Dali and Porfa is making arguments at the moment, and they're saying if you limit the rights of an individual, you infringe on their rights. So they're saying that his rights are being limited and infringed upon here.
Yes, but I think the prejudice matter because JSC is not about individuals. It's a broader public interest. Now, the question for me that I think the judges would have to deal with is how that impacts on the public interest. Yes, you have got rights, and by the way, not every right is absolute. You know, we only have, I think, one right in the Constitution which is absolute, which is the right to equality and human dignity. and that is, in certain instances, is limited. But to suggest that the violation, if there is a violation of John Gericke's rights, means that the country must come to a standstill, borders on the ridiculous, in my view.
Part of the argument that I saw as well, and I just saw a headline saying that if Dr. Jon Gericke is decided to not be able to sit on the JSE, then the other members also can't. What's that argument? Do you know?
Look, I think there's a broader issue, and if you look at what the Western Cape High Court judge talks about primarily, is the failure of Parliament to fully apply its mind to whether everyone sitting in a committee like the JSE, which is not a committee of the National Assembly, is actually fully fit and proper. I mean, in the context of what happened, Judge Gericke has been found unfit for judicial office. Now, logically, really, do you expect that a person who's even litigating in the court as it were now to assert what he calls his right to remain a judge should actually be determining who becomes the judge, who becomes the Chief Justice? Clearly, he's conflicted as it were. Just on that basis alone, he should be disqualified. He can remain a member of the JSE, but I don't think he's eligible to sit in any sitting of the JSE where the issue of judicial appointments is concerned. But I think the fundamental issue, John, that we are confronted with is this problem of the low standard which we have of who can become a member of Parliament, because technically he qualifies to be a member of Parliament, and ordinarily you expect that once he's a member of Parliament, he must be fully utilized in Parliament. But now we have got these limitations because of other factors outside the legal requirements for qualification to be a member of Parliament. And in that context, it might as well say that there are a host of other people who should not be there. For instance, we have a former public protector who was impeached. Should she sit in the committee that deals with the public protector? I mean, you can hear on a regular basis she makes very snide remarks against the successor. Now, you can't say that person is objective. The fundamental principle of the Constitution is without fear or favor. Do we expect these people put in that position to act without fear or favor?
So their case, so when I spoke to MK earlier on this week, that was exactly their case. If you're a member of Parliament, you can sit on a committee, and that's decided, and that's what they're bringing to this argument. What will it take to close that loophole, if it's even possible at all?
Yes, it is possible. I think that's why I'm saying, firstly, I think there's a deficit in our law of who can sit in Parliament, you know. I mean, as a matter of fact, there are people, for instance, who have resigned as ministers because they couldn't meet the ethical framework. They are back in Parliament, and by virtue of being back in Parliament, in the National Assembly in particular, they are eligible to be appointed as ministers again, even though they had faulted us. So the first thing that needs to be done is to rework who should go to Parliament. But other than that, the reality is you cannot have people who are in direct conflict of interest situation, whether they qualify to be in Parliament or not. And I think that is the decision that the Western Cape High Court is talking about, is to say, yes, even if he is qualified to be in Parliament, but in this particular instance, from a rational point of view, you did not apply your mind because this person would be in a conflicted situation. Now, for me, it's not an answer that his party nominated him. It's not an answer. In fact, it undermines us as the public that his party can nominate somebody that they know will be conflicted.
Yeah, you see, MK's argument is that he was voted by the electorate, so therefore the people have spoken.
Yeah, but you know, John, I think we must disabuse the public from this notion that when we elect political parties, we don't elect people, we elect political parties. And the political parties go and do what they like with their votes, with our votes, and come back and tell us that we elected for these particular individuals. That is not correct. We vote for political parties. And the political parties at their will decides who of their people should occupy the positions for which those votes relate to.
Jacob Zuma, correct me if I'm wrong, you'll know more about this. Jacob Zuma wasn't allowed to become an MP because of his sentence.
Yes.
That's sort of black and white, but is it time to close this grey area that if you have gone through other legal implications, then you can't be an MP? That's your point.
Yes, that's what we need, to tighten the law so that it's very clear, it's in black and white. We don't need this. Parliament is supposed to do a very important function. And it's always distracted by side shows and irrelevant issues like this. When poverty is continuing, we need the fight against crime to be the focus. We are now focused on whether somebody should sit on the JSE or not sit on the JSE, when we shouldn't even have that person in Parliament in the first place.
Moredima Manya is an admitted attorney of the High Court. Thank you very much for explaining that to us. I see that the court has adjourned for the afternoon, so we'll hopefully get details on that in our news this afternoon. If there's any update, we'll bring that to you as well. Coming up in a moment, Whistleblower Hit Squad. We're going to talk to the investigative journalist at News 24 who's just released some shocking details. And these roadblocks, will the JMPD be able to do it? Will they do it at all? We'll talk to the spokesperson after the news at 4.
Top stories. NPA welcomes Ekurhuleni serial rapist sentence and EU approves tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. With the news, I'm Dino Mutaung. Good afternoon. The NPA has welcomed the sentencing of Ekurhuleni serial rapist Nkosinathi Phakathi to 42 life terms. The High Court in Palm Ridge, Ekurhuleni also handed Phakathi 791 years imprisonment. Phakathi was found guilty of 93 counts of rape, 43 of kidnapping, and 3 of compelling children to witness a sexual act. His name will be entered in the database of sexual offenders. NPA spokesperson Lumka Mahanjana.
As the NPA, we welcome this sentence. This is one of the biggest sentences that have ever been handed down. This case had a total amount of 96 dockets. So to have such a sentence is good. We welcome this sentence. Though we understand that the victims might never recover from what happened, but we hope that they might find justice from this. We hope that this sentence will send a strong message that offenses of this nature will not be tolerated, and we will prosecute such matters.
The Competition Commission says it has observed that essential food prices remain high and are increasing at a rate that is unaffordable for low-income households. This is despite several positive signs of easing food cost pressures throughout the economy, including the relaxation of load shedding, the strengthening of the rand against the US dollar, and decreasing fuel prices. The Commission says despite lower farm gate prices for wheat, the producer price of brown bread increased over the period under review, among others. Siabulela Makunga is a spokesperson of the Competition Commission.
This edition of the food pricing monitoring report found that easing cost pressures have been slow to translate into lowering food prices in essential food value chains. As an example, if one look at the steep decline in the average producer price of cooking oil, it has not translated into lower average retail prices for this essential food product. And as a result, the producer to retail spread for cooking oil is now above the levels seen immediately before the onset of the war in Ukraine.
In other news, Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwahube says she's awaiting a response from National Treasury to see how to deal with the budget cuts and other infrastructure challenges facing the education sector. Gwahube was briefing the media following a visit to Gauteng as part of her national listening and learning tour. The visit focuses on critical issues affecting the education sector, including overcrowding in schools, safety and infrastructure challenges. The minister has visited 3 other provinces so far: Limpopo, KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga. Gwahube says they have submitted their findings to National Treasury.
They are experiencing a lot of pressure when it comes to infrastructure and infrastructure delivery. So infrastructure becomes a big problem for us. And other provinces and more rural provinces where we were in KwaZulu-Natal, things like scholar transport are a big thing. Things like service delivery, things that are not our core business but affect the work that we do. With regards to the meeting with the Treasury, we are waiting from Finance to be able to advise on when we can have that sit down with the 9 MECs from Education and the 9 MECs from the provincial treasuries.
The defense in the trial of an IEC official who is charged with the contravention of the Electoral Act has applied to the Pietermaritzburg Magistrates Court for the case to be dismissed. Osawenkosi Mnagati was found transporting ballot boxes in the May 29th general elections in Imbali Township outside Pietermaritzburg without a police escort. However, yesterday, state witness IEC official Tutugani Ngobese told the court that area managers can move voting material during the day without police escort. Today, defense advocate Ashley Jennings put to the court that evidence given by Ngobese supports that his clients did not break the law. The trial has been adjourned to October the 22nd for a ruling on the application. Lastly, European Union countries have approved steep new tariffs on electric vehicles made in China. They are set to rise from 10% to up to 45%. The move was met with significant opposition, notably from Germany, which fears its car makers' lucrative exports to China could face retaliation from Beijing. Spokesperson for the European Commission, Olaf Gill, said talks with Beijing would continue.
We do not, and we never have wanted to, impose tariffs in this case for the sake of imposing tariffs. The reason we continue negotiating in good faith and in a meaningful, constructive way with our Chinese counterparts is precisely because we want to find a solution. We're open to finding a solution.
Recapping the top story this hour, the NPA has welcomed the sentencing of Ekurhuleni serial rapist Nkosi Nathi Phakathi to 42 life terms. The High Court in Palm Ridge also handed Phakathi 791 years imprisonment. Headlines at 4:30 for SAFM News. I am Dinamo Taung.
In sports this hour, 50 caps up for Kriel and Grobler, and top seed Sabalenka stand by Muchova in Beijing's last 8. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg, slow moving towards Crown Interchange. The N12 eastbound in Boksburg has a crash before the Atlas Road exit. Jan Smuts Avenue in Parkwood has a crash near Newport Road, and Paul Kruger Street northbound in Pretoria has delays towards Mansfield Avenue. In Durban, the N3 eastbound has a crash at Camperdown. The N3 also is where an earlier stationary vehicle is reported on the link to the N2 north at Spaghetti Junction, which has been cleared, but traffic remains slow moving. And Umgeni Road westbound, slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the M5 southbound, slow moving towards Milner Road. The N2 inbound has a stationary bus reported at Bunga Avenue, which has been cleared, but traffic is still slow moving. The N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound, queuing towards Hospital Bend, and the N1 outbound has a stationary truck reported on the off-ramp to Monte Vista Boulevard that's causing delays. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
John in for Ashraf coming up in a moment. The whistleblower hit squad, secret cell phones, prison connections, and a fast food frenzy. You'll find out why the fast food is important with News 24 investigative journalist Jeff Wicks, who's just got his article out earlier on today. And later on, the South African Medical Research Council is participating in the 24 National Science Week. Ends tomorrow, a flagship initiative of the Department of Science and Innovation to ignite conversations about the implications of living in an increasingly technologically driven society. What does that mean? We will find out later on, and we'll get more analysis on Willie Zintunu quitting the ANC, and we'll play your voice notes as well. All of that and plenty more coming up.
Back-to-back champions, the Buccaneers are only interested in lifting up their third consecutive title. Meanwhile, Maroon and Gold, Stellies, want to ensure that black and white fans go to bed early. This is the MTN 8 final. Wafa Wafa. Catch the reigning champs Orlando Pirates up against Stellenbosch FC on Saturday, 5 October at 5:30 p.m. live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Andile, the CEO of a multinational corporation, is driving home with his daughter.
Dad, why is the Tooth Fairy so stingy?
Stingy? Well, she makes sure everyone gets something.
Does everyone at your company get something?
Yes, they're covered by Old Mutual Corporate's employee benefits.
Even Abdul.
Of course, he gets retirement benefits.
And Sisampo on that big machine.
She gets group risk cover if that big machine hurts her.
Wow, that's amazing, Dad.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, noma upumaphi, and no matter your favorite dish. See if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3, Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.6 FM in Palabora. Jon Gericke on SAFM.
It's 11 minutes past 4 o'clock. A veteran police officer stands accused of being the mastermind behind a hit squad connected to the assassination of a whistleblower. He now faces additional charges for violating his bail conditions. Authorities investigating a secret network of influence at the maximum security prison where he was held. Jeff Wicks is a News 24 investigative journalist behind the article Whistleblower Hit Squad piece. Joins me on the line to tell us a little bit more. Jeff, I don't want to take all the bluster, the fascinating article and putting all the pieces together, so thank you very much for joining us. Tell us a little bit more about who this Detective Michael Tau is.
Yes, well, thank you for having me, and I think it would be more fascinating if it wasn't so distressing, but Michael Tau is a 30-year police veteran and a detective at the Johannesburg Central Police Station, and he was arrested in April, along with two other men, and now faces charges of murder, conspiracy related to illegal guns, possession of illegal cars. And if the state's case against him proves true, then he's essentially the nexus in a three-man hit squad that has been tied to the murder of a Vereniging engineer named Armand Swart, and has also been linked to the attempted assassination of former Muvhango actress Tebogo Tobajane last year. So it's quite distressing to think that someone who should be upholding the law has now fallen foul of it.
And part of this is communication with prisoners or guards in the prison. That's the investigation that's happening at the moment.
Yes, well, I mean, that's a new avenue of investigation. It emerged in court this week where he appeared that monitoring of his cell phone revealed a flurry of calls from the Groenpunt prison while he was on bail. Now, there's really no reason for landlines to be calling this individual whilst he was essentially free before he was rearrested. And that, number one, is distressing, but it speaks to a broader pattern. And that pattern is while he himself was being held in Groenpunt, a search of his cell revealed that somehow he'd managed to smuggle inside two cell phones. So what's clear to us, at least, is that he certainly has some sort of sphere of influence at that maximum security facility where he was held. And that sphere of influence continued even after he was released.
Let's talk about his arrest and his appearance in courts. It's like it's a soap opera. Tell us about this ridiculous story.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat complicated, but essentially he was arrested. He initially applied for bail and was denied, and then brought a new application on new facts. And the basis or the bedrock of those new facts was that he was a diabetic and was very sickly, and essentially the prison food was making his condition deteriorate. And what we've published today is detail around how he had almost daily deliveries of fast food, which were being shuttled in by his family and friends to the prison, no doubt contributing in some way, shape or form to the worsening of his condition. And then he was released on bail, and once he was rearrested, he went on a hunger strike. A hunger strike landed him in hospital, and while he was in hospital and still diabetic, his family was delivering consignments of chocolates and fresh fruit and orange juice and a whole range of snacks. So it really just does punch holes in his story about needing a very specific diet that a prison couldn't cater for.
It's this old story. The journalists get onto the story, Jeff Wicks, what is being done about all of this from the police and from the investigators?
Well, I must say, I hold no brief for the police and will hold them accountable when they don't do their jobs. But in this matter, the police have been absolutely exemplary. I think that they moved quickly on the day that Armand Swart was murdered and made arrests, and now they've done everything in their power to take this case to court and ensure that Detective Tau is held in custody whilst awaiting trial, which by all intents and purposes and on the conspectus of evidence already before court in the bail phase, there's a very strong case against him for someone who should have been upholding the law.
I'm sure there's more, isn't there? You journalists tend to do this stuff. There's more info coming up soon, is there?
Oh, most certainly. It's a horrible situation to be in when you consider the murder of Armand Swart. He was killed in a case of mistaken identity. That hit was actually meant for someone else at the company, and it followed a whistleblower report about Transnet tender inflation. So the very unfortunate reality is that Mr. Swart never had to die. His wife and his 2 children are now without a husband and a father, and we need to hold the perpetrators responsible. And by and large, it would appear that Detective Tau has significant insight into this ring of assassins.
The big issue, and it's come up for years now, News 24 have been raising this, just the dangers that whistleblowers are experiencing in South Africa. There's talk. Is there action happening?
Well, if there is action, the wheels are turning very slowly. I mean, what is desperately needed in the South African context is legislative reforms that protect whistleblowers. And what is needed beyond that is a strong response from authorities that when a whistleblower is either attacked, threatened, or murdered, that the people responsible for that murder are held accountable. I mean, you look at the case of Babita Deokaran, a whistleblower who reported now 2.3 billion rands worth of fraud from a single hospital. She was murdered 3 years ago, and more than 1,100 days later, the mastermind behind that killing still walks free. That's a travesty, and unfortunately, that happens in more cases than not. In this matter, we've got clearly a crack team of detectives who are keen to see this case through to the end, and I think that's positive, but more does need to be done.
But the fact that a policeman is involved kind of also shows why some of these things might be taking so long.
No, of course. And one must consider how many times a day we are confronted with news that a policeman has been arrested for a murder or a hijacking or a kidnapping. And that is another really problematic trend, is the intersection between law enforcement and the criminal underworld. It's clear that the ranks of law enforcement have been infiltrated. And this is a brilliant case study of that, to see what will happen when we allow corrupt elements to creep into our law enforcement agencies.
Just today there was a report about a policeman having stolen a card out of a car that he was driving. So it's every day there's something, as you say.
Absolutely. And the police minister has a huge task on his hands in terms of cleaning up the ranks, because it's not just about putting good people in the right positions. It's about ridding the force of corrupt elements, which for the last 20 years have been allowed to take root. And I mean, we speak again about Detective Tau. This is a man who has 2 criminal convictions, for assault and for kidnapping. But because of prescript loopholes in the South African police, because he was allowed to pay a fine instead of serving a jail term, he can continue being a police officer even though he himself has been convicted for kidnapping.
Jeff Wicks, thank you very much. News 24 investigative journalist, and you can read that article on news24.com, www.news24.com. Let's take some voice notes at 18 minutes past 4 o'clock. Let's go back to the big story that we're following on, and we'll follow on it later on as well, with Willie Mqunu, former ANC member who tendered his resignation from the ANC today.
Good afternoon, John Matabuhe. John, Willie Mqunu is just blown by a wind from KZN. It is not because of the GNU that he has left ANC. These are some of the people who don't even think they have any better or positive contribution towards the organization. GNU is not an organization. GNU is a platform for parties to participate and run the country. And this was based on the fact that where he comes from, in KZN, members of ANC did not vote or those that have voted differently. So therefore, it means he did not do the best thing in KZN where members could still follow him. They just abandoned him. Thank you.
Good afternoon, John. John, Willis Mkunu. I mean, it's obvious. He's joining Umkhonto Wesizwe. He's just trying to buy time, not saying it straight away. He's already the member of Umkhonto Wesizwe. It's a known thing. He's going there. Watch my word. Watch the space.
19 minutes past 4 o'clock coming up in a moment. What are the JMPD going to do in their new roadblocks? Any vehicle, well, I'll tell you about it. A vehicle with 3 or more defects will be discontinued from operation on public roads. Like to see that happen. We'll talk to the JMPD in a bit.
Back-to-back champions, the Buccaneers are only interested in lifting up their 3rd consecutive title. Meanwhile, Maroon and Gold, Stellies, want to ensure that black and white fans go to bed early. This is the MTN 8 final. Wafa Wafa. Catch the reigning champs Orlando Pirates up against Stellenbosch FC on Saturday, 5 October at 5:30 p.m. live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Get those lucky numbers ready and play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 77 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. Play Powerball for an estimated 31 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 46 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old to play responsibly. E2 is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
It's time to crown Miss World South Africa 2024. Tune into S3 this Saturday, the 5th of October at 8 p.m. as Miss World South Africa 24 takes center stage on S3. This year's pageant will be taking place live at the Sun City Super Bowl with tickets available at Quicket. Channel your inner star with the 2024 Miss World South Africa finale this Saturday, the 5th of October at 8:30 p.m. Only on S3. Open up.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
21 minutes past 4, John in for Ashraf. The Department of Transport is implementing a 24/7 shift schedule for traffic police by March of next year. The JMPD, Johannesburg Metro Police Departments, vow to use a new 3-strike system to crack down on unroadworthy vehicles. The JMPD said a couple of days ago that, quote, any vehicle found with 3 or more defects will be immediately discontinued from operating on public roads. JMPD spokesperson is Xolani Fila. Xolani, thank you very much for joining us. Are you being serious?
Thank you for the opportunity. Let me greet the listeners and to you as well. What is happening is that it's not fairly new. It's been happening for as long as I remember and since the National Road Traffic Act has been in place. What happens is that within the regulations of the NRTA is that when an officer stops a vehicle, which an officer has every right to do so when it's operating on a public road, is that they can inspect the vehicle, and if they do find 3 or more defects, and these defects could either be engine oil leaks, loose suspension, or even loose wiring within the engine compartment, and then the officer will then issue a discontinue notice and then take the license disc from that vehicle operating on a public road. The driver or the owner of the vehicle will then be given an opportunity to fix those defects, go back to the testing station, and then get their license disc back.
You say this has been ongoing?
This has been ongoing ever since. It's what the traffic officers have been enforcing ever since. So within that period when your license disc has been taken away, it's 14 days, and then the driver and the owner is then given an opportunity to fix those defects and then go back to the testing station and get the roadworthy certificate, go to the licensing center and get the license disc back. But the dangers of you not doing that whilst operating within the city of Johannesburg is that officers can then impound your vehicle for number plate investigation and find out what could be the reason for you not displaying a license disc, and of course that may incur some costs.
Xolani, do you want to come on a drive with me one day and show that it's not being done? Come on, you know that there are cars on the road. I could look out the window now and find you 10.
Yes, with 3 or more defects.
Yeah, easy. Not a problem.
Yes, but then we have to be fair, as the law does prescribe, that we give those people an opportunity to fix those defects
14
within 14 days and then get back onto the road. But if then they don't, then we'll definitely enforce and make sure that they do face the full might of the law.
You know that the question, when I posted this, when I first saw this on Wednesday, the first reaction was, are you doing this to the taxis as well?
It's to every vehicle operating within the city of Johannesburg and within the Republic of South Africa. That's how the National Road Traffic Act is enforced.
Yeah, I'm finding this difficult. I can't believe that it's been ongoing. Let's run through it, okay? So you pull a vehicle over, and the three things, that it's been raised that you're looking for specifically: the leaking engine oil, defective lights, okay? So in other words, if one of the 2 front lights aren't working, that's a defective light. That's one, okay? Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Okay, then there's faulty rear brakes, or faulty rear lights as well. If you hit your brakes and the lights don't come on, that's a 2. And then worn tires, broken windscreen, so if there's a crack on the windscreen, and then if the indicators are malfunctioning. Does that include the cars where the driver doesn't know how to use them, or is it just if they don't work?
That's if they don't work. We are not going to be that harsh on the driver, but of course the driver, if you are operating on a public road, you should be having a valid driving license, and with those lessons you should know how to operate a motor vehicle.
Okay, so the 3 things will mean this taking away of the car license. You got 14 days, you got to go through that whole rigmarole and all the costs of that. If 2 of those 3 happen, in other words, you find that the brake, there's just no lights at the back, what happens?
If there's just no lights and it's 1 defect, then the driver, of course, is given a citation for that. They'll be charged that they're operating a vehicle which doesn't have or has faulty brake lights. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a punishable offence to have certain things not working. So therefore, that's a fine. But you're not gonna do the whole taking away of the license.
Yes, no, definitely. It's with the merit, and as we have been mentioning that if it's 3 or more, it's not limited to just 3 or more, then you have to discontinue the vehicle from operating on a public road. Okay, but if it's 2, then we can then issue citations for 2 defects. Yeah.
Okay, talk about this 24/7 shift schedule. Does that mean there will now be more roadblocks more often, slowing us down?
Yes, so that is true. We know that we are in October Transport Month, and there are certain enforcement schedules that will be taken into consideration and also put into place. But what I can mention is that the JMPD has always been working on a 24/7 schedule. We work on a 4-day shift, a 12-hour shift, which is morning till the evening, and then officers will take over until from the evening until the following day. But I know with other traffic departments, and especially the Gauteng Traffic Department, they haven't been working overnight. But then with the October Transport Month and heading into the festive season, seeing that between those periods we have a lot of carnages on our roads. And what has been discovered with data received is that a lot of this carnage is actually pedestrians on the roads. So with enforcement at identified hotspot areas within the city of Johannesburg and other areas of the province, law enforcement officials will then be working on a 24-hour basis.
Will they be going and marshalling at traffic lights, or is that still going to be left to the homeless guys?
That has been done by JMPD, and thanks to our partners, Outsurance and Traffic Free Flow. And we know that JMPD has also recruited points people who are assisting with controlling traffic in the city of Johannesburg.
You need more of those, Glani, just letting you know. But Glani Fila, thank you very much. You heard it from the JMPD spokesperson. If your car has 3 or more defects, you will be discontinued from operating on public roads.
Jon Gericke on SAFM.
Mike in Durban, you want to talk about that for a bit?
Yes, John. You know, unfortunately, in our country, in just South Africa, this is another way of policemen to make money on the road. It will lead to corruption as well. You know, instead of fixing the roads and fixing everything else, they bring up these laws, And every time they're going to stop somebody and they're going to make money out of them.
Look, I'm all for. I love the fact that they will do this. You've got to have your vehicle roadworthy to be able to be on the road. Fantastic.
No, 100%.
My question is, will it be done fairly and on everybody?
How are we going to do it fairly where the policeman does not take a bribe? They're going to make a lot of money out of bribes because many cars shouldn't be on the road.
Yeah, and also I didn't have time, Mike, to ask him about hiding in the bushes. There's a big difference between being able to be proactive police and putting up the camera and hiding in the bushes for 8 hours.
I think one of the rules should be there should be at least 5 or 6 police officers together. You know, like they do in the States. They call the supervisor, let the supervisor be the proof.
So you have somebody that and body cams. I'm a big fan of body cams. Mike in Durban, thank you very much. Wanting to comment on JMPD. What do you make of that? Let me know what you think. Give us a call. 086 000 2032. The WhatsApp voice note number as well. 0614 104 107. We've got time after Sport with Tumi about that. I see we've also got a voice note on the marathon. I haven't been told what it says, but I'm going to play that with Tumi. I think it might be having a go at me saying that we've got a month to train for a marathon, for the Soweto Marathon. I don't know. And Bonga from Soweto says that SMS has a maximum of 120 characters. Twitter had the same before it became X. Bonga. I remember fondly those days of X where it was just a fun thing and then things changed. We've got a voice, Tumi's in the studio. We've got a voice note on the marathon. I don't know what it's about. If it's about the entries or about you running it. It's about Strava. Okay, we know we're going to play it when you do your sport now.
All right.
So I don't know what Strava. I know what Strava is, and I probably want to follow us. Do you run? You're a runner.
Yeah, I run here and there. No, don't laugh.
No, well, I also run here and there, but I do it very fast. No, I don't. It's time for headlines. 4:30.
Well, the headlines at 4:30. I am Dino Mataung. Good afternoon. The eThekwini municipality in KwaZulu-Natal has disputed that its plans for water curtailment from next week equate to a schedule for water cuts. In other news, the NPA has welcomed the sentencing of Ekurhuleni serial rapist Nkosinathi Phakathi to 42 life terms. The High Court in Palm Ridge also handed Phakathi 791 years imprisonment. And the authorities in Nigeria have recovered 141 bodies from the river Niger after a boat capsized on Tuesday night. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 eastbound in Boksburg has a crash reported before the Atlas Road exit. The N12 in Eldorado Park has delays between the Golden Highway and Klipspruit Valley Road exit. Jan Smuts Avenue in Parkwood has a crash near Newport Road, and you are to expect delays in the Central Sandton area due to specific traffic restrictions that are in place for this weekend's F1 event. In Durban, the N2 southbound queuing towards the M25 Commercial Highway. The N3 eastbound in Pinetown is slow moving at Marion Hill Toll Plaza. In Cape Town, Kloofnik Road outbound in Oranjezicht has heavy traffic towards Kloofnik. N1 outbound is slow moving towards the M5 Koeberg interchange, and Stellenbosch Arterial Road eastbound in Kuilsriver slow moving at Nooiensfontein Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Doming Kapele.
All right, earlier, let's play the voice note first. Earlier we were talking about running the marathon, and we've got a month or something. Let's take a voice note from, I don't know who. Let's play a voice note about the marathon.
John, it's Jose from Mpumalanga. If it's not on Strava, it did not happen. That's the way it is nowadays with road running. And to put it into perspective, if you run 7 Ks in 1 hour, it's 7 6 42. That gives you a 6-hour marathon.
Hours.
Not too shabby, but not a combat qualifier, I'm afraid. You need to run it in under 5 hours.
No way.
Thank you.
Like he's being nice by saying not too shabby.
Yeah, what he means is, John, you're fat and old. Stop
and
trying.
you're a slowpoke.
If it's not on Strava, it doesn't exist. I like it. I'm on Strava. If you want to follow me, go ahead. It's fine. I've got to increase the security measures because it tells you where you start, and there's my house is almost there. All right, what's happening with the cricket?
Well, in terms of the cricket, the Proteas are currently sitting on 252 for 3. Remember, they're facing Ireland. Mulder and Stubbs at the crease. Stubbs sitting on 64 runs. Remember, South Africa won the toss and they elected to bat first. This is the second ODI between South Africa and Ireland. And not forgetting that the Proteas women are also smiling after beating the West Indies by 10 wickets. We'll hear from some of the players just a bit later. But let's look at what's happening in the world of rugby. Jason Dixon is the only change to the DHL Stormers starting 15 to face Zebre in Palmer tomorrow, with fellow Springbok Warwick Holland named on the bench. Dixon starts at blindside flanker for Dave Ewers, and then Jean-Luc Duplessis makes way for Holland, and the playmaker is joined on the word by tight head prop Sazi Sunday and veteran scrumhalf de Wald de Venage. Meanwhile, two Vodacom Bull stalwarts, Johan Grobler and David Kriel, will mark their 50th caps for the franchise when they face Ulster in the URC at Loftus Versfeld tomorrow. Meanwhile, Ruan Norgia and Kurt Learenze are among the 8 returning Springboks named in the Bulls' run on 15. In football, Stellenbosch FC goalkeeper Sage Stevens has credited his teammates for helping him stand out as one of the key players ahead of the M10-8 final on Saturday night. The side from the Winelands take on Orlando Pirates at the Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban, and Stevens, who kept a clean sheet in the semi-finals against Mamelodi Sundowns, is seen as an important figure, and he says that it's all thanks to the team around him.
Firstly, very grateful to be seen in that light, but also I think our performances against Sundowns, both games back to back, I think everyone on that pitch did a phenomenal job. Like you say with Fawaz, Andre's been superb, Devon, Toure's been phenomenal, Tabo, so our whole team has gelled very well over the last 2 games. So I think it lays the foundation to be recognised in that light, because I kept 2 clean sheets against Sundowns. So, like I said, very grateful, but I think, as a team we're carrying each other very well.
Elsewhere, Zimbabwe will have Captain Marvelous Nakamba back in the squad for their back-to-back Africa Cup of Nations qualifier matches against Namibia in Soweto this month. Amid other changes to the squad for by coach Michael Neese, Nakamba returned to the club action at English Championship club Luton Town after knee surgery kept him out of for around 6 months, and he last played for Zimbabwe in the World Cup qualifiers in November last year. On to tennis, 49th ranked Karolina Muchova stunned top seed Aryna Sabalenka in 3 sets to reach the China Open semi-finals today. The Czech player won 7-6, 2-6 and 6-4 and faces China's Olympic champion Zheng Qinwen or 17-year-old Russian Mira Andreeva for a place in the final. In the meantime, Stefanos Tsitsipas served sweet revenge after months of bad form when he defeated Japan's Kei Nishikori in straight sets to advance into the 3rd round of the Shanghai Masters. Tsitsipas, who suffered a shock defeat to Nishikori in August, battled through 2 tight sets to claim a 7-6 and a 6-4 win. Then finally in motorsport, South Africa's Brad Binder clocked the fastest time in practice for the Japan MotoGP today, with championship leader Jorge Martin finishing 3rd. Red Bull KTM rider Binder laid down a fastest lap of 1 minute and 43.436 seconds at a cloudy Montegi 0.033 ahead of Spain's 6-time world champion Marc Marquez in 2nd. On that note, it's a wrap from myself for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
Jimmy, thank you very much. I wonder if we can Strava the fact that we sat in the studio for 3 hours. Does that count? No. Are you on Strava? You're on the Stravas?
I'm not.
Okay, I'll show you how it works.
I know. I can tell you the app I'm on.
What app you on?
I'll tell you off air.
Okay. Secret app. The Secret To Me app. More sport with To Me in an hour's time.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Let's talk also a little bit about being a male nurse. And I wonder, that must be a very unique experience, because firstly, when we think nurses, we don't really think male nurses have the same kind of nurturing.
I will tell you and be honest with you. No guy said, when I finish school, I want to do nursing.
Yeah.
There was no guy who said that. All we said engineering, all those courses. Being a male nurse, I'll tell you, me, I was recognized by my late grandmother. He said, when you end this destination, you'll be helping people at hospital. So, for me, nurse is I cherish this thing. But only to find out now, after all the struggle, I found myself in nursing.
Sakile is a nurse at Bara Hospital.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. You are listening to Jon Gericke on SFM.
Let's get an update on the local markets. Paswane Mpahlele is the Senior Accounts Manager at Makwe Fund Managers. Let's get what's happening on the markets today, Paswane.
Afternoon, John, and to all your listeners, happy Friday, guys. Well, John, a bit of a surprise came through in the afternoon after a very muted trading day during the day. U.S. labor report was reported on the upside, surprising the market with 254 jobs created, unemployment dipping down to 4.1%. This has caused the market participants in general to reverse their bets on the next rate cut in the U.S. from a 50 to a 25, and this has resulted in the support for the dollar, the bond yields being at overbought levels ahead of the next week big inflation print, which, well, the likes of oil are pulling their stocks up, going into that bullish levels, getting along with the other commodities that are bullish, reflecting that this is a kind of an early sign you can look into, that we're seeing late cycle printouts in economic data coming off the US, like we see in the labor and the upcoming inflation print that is supposedly could be tilted to the dovish side. Local news we're seeing in the corporate side, Metair has agreed to buy the South Africa's largest auto parts distributor that announced that had financial troubles. This is the AutoZone for 290 million. This will help diversify Metair's mobility sector, and if risk managed well, John, they may be able to unlock the profitability of the business and make long-term gains from themselves. But when we look at general equity performance as we end today, it looks like a mixed picture. Green holding there. We see the US Open green with Nasdaq up 0.3, holding some gains. S&P 0.1. Dow is flat. CAC is up 1%, DEX down up 0.6, FTSE up 0.2. Locally, we are flat. Resource sector was flat, as industrials was down 0.3. Financials picking up a 0.3% gain. Commodities a mixed picture there. We see gold was down 1%, but now managed to make up those losses, down just 0.1 at $2,651 an ounce, still bullish. Platinum is flat at $993, remaining a bullish tilt. Oil, as I said, bullish, up 0.9 at $78.43 a barrel. The rand is now looking rather flat today. At rand against the dollar is at 17.50, rand against the euro is 19.20, and the rand against the pound is at 22.94.
Paswane Mpahlele, thank you very much. Senior Accounts Manager at Makwe Fund Managers. More business coming up in an hour's time.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.5 FM in Tabazimbi. Jon Gericke on SAFM.
Let's go back to a conversation we were having yesterday. A voice note's just come through about SASSA. You remember yesterday we were talking that, 17.5 million people applied for the SASSA grants. Let's get more voice note on that.
Hi, John. Speaking to Manzini from Cape Town, Ikukuletu. Can you please try and call SASSA, please, and see what's going on the toll-free number? The guy said it's working. Please.
It's not working. All right, we'll look into that. Let's take some plenty WhatsApp notes have come through, or WhatsApp voice notes have come through about Willis Nkunu, former ANC member who handed in his resignation today.
John and fellow SFM listeners, good day. My name is Tulani Nzima in Croydon. John, what a brilliant interview with former ANC member and KZN Premier Babu Willis Nkunu. A lot of us joined the ANC because we regarded ourselves as the vanguard of the poorest. We wanted to ensure that the poorest people are well represented. Unfortunately, the ANC of today has turned to be about populist, has turned to be counter-revolutionary, and has indeed invited the white monopoly capital into the table of the ANC, which unfortunately those ones do not even share anything that we share with the masses. Ubaba Mchunu is very brave. Not every member of the ANC is or has joined the ANC for their own benefits. Thank you.
Ratabile Limpopo, go ahead.
Yeah, how are you? How are you, John?
Fantastic. Thanks for asking.
I'm fantastic also. I'm Ratabe Mama Polo from Solomondale in Limpopo. Yes, I'm worried, about this star set because they are offline and they don't communicate with the customers. Yesterday, I even went to an extent of calling somebody who claims to know how to fix things. I paid some money. It's not working still. It's now today that I heard that they've got some issues with ICASA.
Yes.
Can someone please talk to them? Just bring them on air. We should know. They didn't even communicate with their customers.
Yeah, let me just update you on what happened. According to an SABC report a couple of days ago, authorities came in from ICASA and just disconnected and confiscated broadcasting equipment. So it's nothing's wrong and your fault. According to this report, they just started unplugging things, ripping out the equipment that they needed to broadcast, but for the whole of Africa. Customers have nothing showing on their screen, and many countries have got a blank screen. But yeah, you're right. They haven't been communicating. Has there been no email or an SMS or anything to you?
There's been nothing. I've been running around like a headless chicken at the age of 70, Yeah, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
My little girl, my granddaughter is blaming me for not seeing his cartoons.
Yeah, it's always your fault. Yeah, according to the marketing manager, Jan Hendrik Harmse, they just removed the equipment. So they might even not have equipment to be able to communicate with you, Ratabile. But yeah, that's the latest, unfortunately, with StarSat. Somebody's not happy with me. Let's go to David in Maritzburg. How's it?
Yeah, how are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. John, I think as a radio personality, you are duty bound to ensure that anyone who comes on the radio and raise matters should provide a proof of whatever he or she is saying. A typical example is you hosted a person yesterday who was talking on the issue involving Umkhwebane, the former public protector, who was being accused of assertions regarded as racist towards the people of Indian descent. So for me, I thought you should have probed that guy and asked him to provide proof when he said there's an increase in racism accusations on white people, Indians and coloreds. The first question for me was who was doing that in terms of racism. Secondly, the proof that I have is that we have proof that black people are the victims when it comes to issues of racism.
All right, two different things. Hold on. Two different things there, David. At no point did he say that black people weren't experiencing racism. What he said was that there is an increase of racism against white people and Indian people, the minorities.
But there's no proof of that.
No, there is proof of that. I see it personally.
John,
I see it personally, David.
No, John, there's no proof of that. Now, I can give you proof.
David.
Give me a chance.
No. Hold on. David.
Okay.
You told me that there's no proof of that. There is proof of that. I've seen it myself.
Give me one example of that.
Go have a look at my Twitter account for a little while.
Okay, let me give you proof of the racism that you experience.
Again, David, I'm not saying you don't experience racism. Listen carefully to what I'm saying. At no point did I say or did IRA say that black people are not experiencing racism. That's never the point. What they said was, I haven't finished speaking. Okay. What he said was that there is an increase of racism towards white people and Indian people. Right? That's not taking away. It's not taking away the racism that black people experience.
No, David, John. But the thing is, John, anyone can come on the radio and make unfounded statements. It is your duty to ask that person to bring proof, to say, this is proof, this is what has happened on such and such a
So
day.
do you disagree? Do you disagree that there is an increase in racism against white people and Indian people?
I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree.
That's fine. You can disagree. But if the IRR comes on and says that there is, and he can't come on and say that there is just by pulling it out of his thumb. He must have a reason to say that, right? And what you're saying is I should have asked him where he got that research.
Yes, because anyone can come and make such assertions which are unfounded.
No, they're not unfounded.
I'm saying to you,
I have
can give
personal
you
experience of it.
Give us proof of that, because I can give you a lot of issues that have happened against us as black people.
Again,
in schools currently.
Stop conflating the two. Stop conflating the two, please,
No,
David.
I'm not.
Listen carefully.
I'm not.
You are conflating the two. Every time you say that I'm not, or a white people or an Indian people are not experiencing racism, you say, yeah, but what about us black people? We're not saying that black people aren't experiencing racism.
No, I'm saying to you, for what I'm saying, Mina, there is proof. I've challenged you to also give me proof of what you are saying.
Follow my Twitter account.
No,
hey, how many times can I be called a pink pig?
Where did you report that if you were called?
Because I didn't report it.
There's no enforcement.
You suck it up, sunshine.
No, but for me, there are people who are in court as we speak.
Yes.
Who are attending criminal cases.
Yes.
For what I'm saying about against us black people. Can you give me proof of that involving white, colored, and Indians?
No, because
There's no proof of that.
These are anonymous accounts that have been attacked.
It's only thumb sucking. You are thumb sucking as well because you're failing to give me proof. Give me proof of that. I'm challenging you.
I've told you, it's on my Twitter account.
I can give you a number of issues.
I'm not disagreeing with you, David. I agree with you completely.
Yes,
but you're disagreeing with the fact that there is an increase in other places.
I am disagreeing.
And that's okay. We're allowed to disagree. And that's the joy of where we are.
Please, John, in the future,
I will do that.
Comes on the radio,
show me proof of racism.
Yes, he must tell you as to produce the proof of what you're saying, because anybody can come on the radio and say things that are unfounded.
David, thank you very much for putting me in my place. David, thank you. Not happy with the IRR yesterday.
TS Galaxy Queens are chasing a vital win to breathe closer to the top 3 teams. However, TUT Matatsanza want to have a good day in the office by grabbing full points. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Witness the Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. TS Galaxy Queens FC versus TUT Matatsanza Ladies FC on Sunday, 6 October at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
It's time to crown Miss World South Africa 2024. Tune into S3 this Saturday, the 5th of October at 8 p.m. as Miss World South Africa 24 takes center stage on S3. This year's pageant will be taking place live at the Sun City Super Bowl with tickets available at Quicket. Channel your inner star with the 2024 Miss World South Africa finale this Saturday, the 5th of October at 8:30 p.m. Only on S3. Open up.
Jon Gericke on SAFM.
Let's talk science now. The South African Medical Research Council is proud to be participating in the 24 National Science Week. Ends tomorrow. The event's a flagship initiative of the Department of Science and Innovation aiming to ignite conversations about the implications of living in an increasingly technology-driven society. The theme is living in a high-tech world. Should we be concerned? Tendani Tsedu is head of corporate and communications at the South African Research Council. Joins me on the line. Let's talk to Tendani. Thank you very much. Why should we be worried about living in a high-tech world, Tendani?
Good afternoon, good afternoon to your listeners. It's not really about worried, but it's about celebrating the benefits that are coming from the technological developments that are happening with positive impact. From a SMRC point of view, which is the South African Medical Research, those benefits the development of medical treatment to ensure that we have a healthy living nation.
A lot has been learnt since COVID-19, and one of the things you're raising is the power of collaboration. Tell us about what lessons the Medical Research Council, medical in general, are learning from this.
Yes, I think the lessons that we learned specifically from the COVID-19 years is around collaborations, it's around easy access to vaccines so that we don't have to struggle to get vaccines from other countries. We have also learned the need for Africa or South Africa specifically to be able to develop its own vaccine. And for that to happen, there needs to be a lot of investment to be done in the country. And as such, we need to collaborate and work with other institutions, either in the continent or outside the continent. And there have been more cooperation and a memorandum of agreement and cooperation signed. And there have been a number of initiatives that have been launched in the country to look into working together to develop vaccines, not only for COVID-19, but we are also looking into what are the future pandemics that might hit us and how do we positively respond to that.
And the good work, you're also highlighting the good work you've done with HIV and TB. Tell us about that.
Yes, we continue working to find a vaccine for HIV. We have recently got a grant from USAID to form a consortium called Brilliant, and which we are partnering with 8 countries in the continent to look into finding the vaccine, and that consortium is being led by African scientists, and the person leading is Professor Glenda Gray, who was the CEO at the SMRC, and now she has taken up a full role as a scientist. On the TB level, we also continue our research. We're working hand in hand. We just get into an agreement with another institution in France to continue funding research in South Africa, specifically focusing on TB.
The one thing I found interesting is the Research Council also looking at non-communicable diseases, but also looking at reducing violence, social detriments of health, such as gender-based violence and things. Fascinating. How does that get involved?
Yeah, that gets involved indeed, because if you look into violence, either as a form of gender-based violence, or as a form of crime violence in terms of robbery, or also the car accidents, all those leads into the involvement of medical personnel, the involvement of hospitals. So we do research in that to ensure that we prevent them from happening more frequently. So we have an interest in that, but we also have an interest of finding researching a better procedure of how to handle injuries that are caused by this, and how do we get all stakeholders involved to work together to resolve, because we also need to see justice done in case of gender-based violence. So we also work with the police on how they can go ahead investigating, and then that's where also the issue of mental health comes in. On how do we handle and help the public to deal with mental health issues, specifically that might be generated due to having witnessed a serious crime or having been part of a gender-based violence.
It's what you're saying is what David was saying a little bit earlier when he was confronting me about research-based evidence and how important that is in this whole transformation of the country.
Yes, that's a very key point that you are making, and I think one of the mandates of the SMRC is to assist our government through Parliament. We report to the Parliamentary Committee on Health, and what we do is to give them briefing to ensure that whatever law they pass is a evidence-based law formed by research done by the SMRC. We're currently engaging them on the tobacco bill. We are at the forefront of doing the research and giving them the outcome of our research, and then engaging them and taking them through the presentation so that they can fully understand what the impact of the law they're going to pass is going to be as far as science is concerned.
The big issue at the moment in medical is the NHI rollout and how important it is public and private sectors working together. What's the latest on that from your perspective?
Our perspective of position as SMRC is that we do support the National Health Insurance because we believe that everybody deserves to be deserve access to medical treatment. We support the Universal Health Committee, and we've been engaging, and we are part of the committee that is working with the National Department of Health into ensuring that the National Health Insurance is outlined in a more positive way. We do understand the concerns that have been raised, and we think those concerns can be discussed, and science can also play a role in bringing out the actual evidence of the concern. But we do support the bill, and we do believe that if implemented properly, it will benefit everybody, as health is a part of a human rights issue.
At the end of Science Week, what would you like me and my listeners to know? What's the one lesson we should take out from what you guys do and how you're changing our lives?
I think generally, as a scientific organization, we want you to know more about science and not ignore its existence. We would like you to take cognizance of the benefits that come from science. We would like you to celebrate the achievement that South Africa has done as far as science is concerned, either in the medical area or in MAG or in engineering. So the best way we would like you to do is to celebrate South Africa when you look at what are the other things that makes you a proudly South African. Science development should be part of that.
Tendani Tedo, thank you very much, and thank you for all the work you do. Tendani Tedo is the head of corporate and communications at the South African Medical Research Council, the SAMRC. Coming up after the news at 5, we are going to have a little bit more analysis about Willies Mqunu quitting the ANC. We're going to talk to a political analyst, and we'll take your calls and voice notes on that as well. We'll have a little bit of time. A big winning feature coming up, but it looks as if that last half hour is relatively free. So get those calls in. 086 0002032 is the phone number, and you can also send us a WhatsApp voice note on 0614 104 107. Look forward to going through all of those messages with you later on. Kind of feel where it's going. It's 5 o'clock.
In this news update, Durban Mayor clarifies water plans and NPA welcomes sentencing of serial rapist. Good day to you. The eThekwini municipality in KwaZulu-Natal has disputed that its plans for water curtailment from next week equate to a schedule for water cuts. Mayor Cyril Gaba announced water curtailment plans that will come into effect from October 10th. He told the media that the purpose was to reduce the total volume of water used in the city in a controlled manner. In a statement, the municipality says there are no water cut schedules and that restrictors will be installed to control and minimize the flow of water. The curtailment is expected to be implemented for up to 1 year. The NPA's welcomed the sentencing of serial rapist Nkosinathi Phakathi to 42 life terms. The High Court in Palm Ridge, east of Johannesburg, also handed him 791 years imprisonment and 6 months. He was found guilty of 93 counts of rape, 43 of kidnapping, and 3 of compelling children to witness a sexual act. His name will be entered into the database of sexual offenders. The NPA's Lumka Mahanjana.
This is one of the biggest sentences that have ever been handed down. This case had a total amount of 96 dockets. So to have such a sentence is good. We welcome the sentence. Though we understand that the victims might never recover from what happened, but we hope that they might find justice from this. We hope that this sentence will send a strong message that offenses of this nature will not be tolerated, and we will prosecute such matters.
This story may offend sensitive listeners, including children. Police have opened a murder docket after human body parts were found inside a plastic bag at an illegal dumping site next to a road in Amoti, north of Durban. Police spokesperson Robert Netchaunda.
A human head and feet of an unknown person were found inside a black plastic bag. Next to that bag was another transparent plastic bag containing human legs. Blood-stained clothing items and blanket were found at the scene. Suspects are unknown at this stage.
The Gauteng Premier Panyasa Lasufi says they have enough revenue to be able to deal with the challenges presented by budget cuts in the education sector. He was speaking on the backdrop of a listening and learning tour in Gauteng by the Basic Education Minister, where she's engaging provincial education departments on the challenges faced in the wake of budget cuts by National Treasury. The cuts have resulted in other provincial education departments announcing they'll not be able to fill critical teacher posts in the next 3 years. Lesufi says they will be able to weather the storm.
We're making more money out of licensing. We're also making more money out of gambling. You know, there are lots and lots of gambling organizations. You all know all of them. They're even sponsoring soccer nowadays. So that market has also brought additional funding to us. So there are lots and lots, but we also saved before. But so far, education, as the MEC says, it's I think it's well protected, but we must ensure that we don't accelerate other things that will make it to be in the bad books of government as well.
Authorities in Nigeria recovered 141 bodies from the River Niger after a boat capsized on Tuesday. The BBC's Chris Iwoko has more.
The boat was packed with nearly 300 passengers when it capsized. None of the passengers were wearing life jackets or safety gear. Survivors said the boat broke apart in the middle of the river before sinking. The passengers were traveling along the River Niger at about 8 o'clock at night on their way to celebrate the Muslim festival of Maulid. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has urged officials to ensure that boat operators violating the ban on traveling at night were prosecuted.
The top story there, eThekwini municipality's disputed that its plans for water curtailment from next week equate to a schedule for water cuts. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Khoos.
In sports this hour, Proteas women thrash Windies at T20 World Cup, and Soweto Marathon struggling to sell entries. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, Chris Hani Road in Diepkloof has a crash reported at Colander Road. Silver Street in Eldorado Park has a police incident reported between Easter Crescent and Concord Road, so you're asked to expect delays and diversions. The N1 northbound in Midrand is slow moving towards Samrand Road, and the N1 southbound in Pretoria has a crash reported before Rigel Avenue. In Durban, the N2 southbound queuing towards the M25 Commercial Highway, the N3 westbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction, and the N2 northbound in Amanzimtoti is queuing towards Dickens Road exit. In Cape Town, the N7 Jakes Havel Drive southbound has a stationary truck reported after Voortrekker Road that's causing heavy traffic delays. The N1 outbound is slow moving approaching Okavango Road. The N2 westbound has heavy traffic towards Grabo, and the M5 southbound slow moving towards Milner Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
Friday afternoon, 5 minutes past 5. Jon Gericke in for Ashraf Garda. He'll be back again on Wednesday, so you've got me for 2 more days, Monday and Tuesday. Coming up in a bit, we're going to talk to a political analyst about Willie Mkhunu quitting the ANC. And our winning feature today is a little bit of I guess it's called a sports story, but we're talking to Angela Jung, who's preparing to climb a mountain, Ama Dablam Mountain in Nepal. It says here that it is ridiculously steep. I think that's the words. I think they use, whatever it is, it's really steep. It's a really difficult climb. And we will talk to Angela Jung about this mountain, why she's doing it. She's doing it for charity, trying to raise awareness. The mountain's 6,812 meters high. So we'll talk to her about why she's doing it. And, daunting steep Ama Dablam is the words they use. So she's raising awareness. We'll ask her about that awareness in a bit. And we'll take your calls and voice notes into the final hour. As always, write them down. 086 000 2032 if you want to phone. 086 000 2032. And you can send us a WhatsApp as well. 0614 104 107.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, Noma Upumadi, and no matter your favorite dish, see if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
Get those lucky numbers ready and play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 77 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. Play Powerball for an estimated 31 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 46 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120*7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old and play responsibly. E2 is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
It's time to crown Miss World South Africa 2024. Tune into S3 this Saturday, the 5th of October at 8 p.m. as Miss World South Africa 2024 takes center stage on S3. This year's pageant will be taking place live at the Sun City Super Bowl. Tickets available at Quicket. Channel your inner star with the 2024 Miss World South Africa finale this Saturday, the 5th of October at 8:30 p.m. Only on S3. Open up.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Call us on 086 000 2032. Jon Gericke on SAFM.
At the start of the show, we spoke to former ANC member now Willie Mqunu about him resigning from the ANC. ANC in KwaZulu-Natal has told us they have noted the resignation, would not be commenting at this point. But what does the resignation mean for the ANC, especially in KwaZulu-Natal? We heard some of your comments earlier as well. What was the one? It's about a blowing wind in KZN. Tobani Zikalala is political analyst from the University of KZN, joins me on the line. Tobani, thank you very much. Happy Friday to you. What do you make of this resignation?
John, how are you? It's a good Friday.
Yeah.
I don't know if for the ANC it is a good Friday, but I mean, Willie Mqunu is a veteran of the ANC. Willie Mqunu is a former leader of the ANC in the province. Willie Mqunu is a former premier of the province. And I say these things not just to bring credentials. I mean, he's a long-standing member of the ANC, of course. But I say this not just to bring history. I say this just to put to bear that we are not just speaking about an ordinary member of the ANC of some obscure branch somewhere that no one knows. We are speaking about a leader of the ANC, a veteran of the ANC, who his resignation must, one, be looked at as a critique of the current state of the ANC. That's the first thing. Two, it must be a point of reflection for the ANC on its state and its relation to its veterans. And three, on what is then the way forward for the ANC, especially on the issues that it seems as if people like Willie Mqunu and others are raising as part of their reasons why they feel that they can no longer participate in the project of the ANC. But also the last point will be the ANC also needs to reflect on whether or not can it safely say, as it has said for the past 30 years at least, that it is the leader of South African society. And does it have leaders capable enough to continue maintain that positionality if it's a positionality that it still thinks that it can occupy? There is the government of national unity decision of the national leadership of the ANC seems to be a thorn in the flesh for many in the ANC, and it means that the ANC must really reflect on whether or not what it has called a tactical retreat or a tactical maneuver to try and maintain power post 29 May 2024 has been the most correct political, ideological, and strategic and does not compromise its strategic objectives as a party.
It was interesting when I spoke to Willie Mqunu earlier. He was saying that he didn't want to be this moaning old man within the ANC because he disagreed so much with what was happening. How big a person does it take to, and I asked him how difficult a decision it was make, how big a decision would that be for somebody like him to leave based on the fact that he could maybe change things from inside?
I mean, it should be difficult for us to imagine for people like Willie Mqunu, who I would imagine has spent at least 30 to 40 years as a member of the ANC in different situations. First, maybe in the hard times of the apartheid regime, and of course post 1994 as a integral part of the rebuilding of the structures of the ANC and the like. So you are not speaking, as I said earlier, you're not speaking about someone who has been a spectator while the game of the building of the ANC has been happening. He has been at the part or center of it, and sometimes has been the leader of the ANC, has been entrusted by the ANC to carry its political and policy objectives into government, and has led the government of KwaZulu-Natal. So this is not a person who this decision would have been easy for. I think that's why maybe the ANC must also really reflect on moments like this, on what it means for them, for the party, and what some of the things that these people say when they leave what do they mean in the political landscape that we are in today. And the other part of that, sorry, John, I mean, the other part of that is what he raises then in that letter. He then says, we have tried to use, I mean, he says as a discipline member, he has tried to use the internal structures of the party to raise his concerns. And he says he was then maybe ridiculed and he was told he was not taken seriously.
He was called politically ignorant.
Yes, he was called politically ignorant, as if he does not understand the current political juncture the ANC is in. And this is maybe why he then takes a decision to say, in that case, then, if then my leaders believe that I'm now politically ignorant and maybe the things I'm speaking about I do not know, then how then best do I continue to contribute to the ANC? If what I have known for all these years and what I've understood the ANC to be and what my role is in the ANC is now not deemed not to be adequate enough for it to be engaged properly. And I think the leadership of the ANC, the members of the ANC, must reflect on this, must also see this as a mistake on their part. Because it seems as if there is this selective, thing in the ANC where particular leaders are provided a platform and audience to reflect on the current state of the ANC. But other leaders are not given the same space and platform and the same audience. And whilst, of course, even they themselves are veterans of the party who have known the party far longer than maybe some of the people who are currently leading today. But it is also it's also what we call something that the ANC has, but maybe the recent years have, is that because sometimes it depends who is saying something than what is being said. And I would say this because the ANC has now institutionalized groupings of political interest, because even the idea of calling it political factions for me is problematic. So the groups of political interest in the ANC, who at different times become dominant, become hegemonic, do not want to listen to critique, because they believe that this critique is not a critique for the goodness of the organization, but it's a critique of themselves as that political grouping of interest. And this is why maybe people like Willie Simtunu are not being listened to, because they may be deemed not to not be part of this hegemonic group of political interest inside the ANC.
Let's talk about Willis. When I asked him where his future is, he says he's had some bad health, he's had some good health. He's 76 years old now. He was seen as a close ally of Jacob Zuma. Is it inevitable that he'll end up at MK?
It's something else you cannot rule out. I mean, many of the people who have criticized the current state of the ANC have in one way or another ended up associated with the MK party. But with people like Willis Mkhulu at 76 years old, and of course, as he says himself, that he has suffered some ill health in recent years, I do not think the rust and bustle of politics is a space that he may want to be in. But he may want to be in a space where his counsel, his knowledge can be something that is found valuable somewhere else. Does he do that by associating himself or joining another different political party, like former President Jacob Zuma has done with his critic of the ANC and the like? Or does he find new ways of finding space to connect with those and to offer his counsel and wisdom to others? I mean, other political leaders have went the route of forming centers and foundations of politics, and for me, that maybe could be something that also can be looked at. How best to continue to be politically active and have a voice in politics, but without associating with the political party, because the rustle and bustle of politics may not be something that you want to be engaged in. But of course, I mean, in politics, what matters mostly is whether or not one still has the political will to try and push for the ideas they believe in, on whether or not they've got the correct ideas. The idea of age and health sometimes is a secondary issue. It's whether or not one has the political will, and two, has got the right ideas and knowledge to be able to contribute for whatever ideas that they may believe in.
You've spoken about it quite a lot, Tobani, but I just want to re-ask the question. When I look at the ANC veterans that are speaking out against the way that the ANC is going, do the ANC have the leadership, or do they care to listen to these veterans and go, well, actually, that's an old school ANC, we're a new school ANC, and this is the route we are going now?
I mean, what I said before, I think still holds true.
Right.
It's not that leaders and veterans of the ANC are not being listened to, but it seems the current leadership, and I use the term groups, the group of political interests that currently hegemonic and leading the ANC. That grouping has got particular legends, veterans, and former leaders of the ANC that it wants to listen to. And it seems that there is a particular strand of these political leaders, like Willis Mkhulu, are not going to be listened to, purely because they offer a contra view to what everyone seems to agree about. Let me make an example. A former president like Thabo Mbeki is giving audience, whether he's critiquing, whether he's affirming or applauding, but he's giving audience, he's giving space to go everywhere and offer his wisdom, right, on the current state of the ANC and the country. On the inverse of that, you for people like Willis Mkhulu, who simply by writing a letter are called by political ignorance, as he said he was called. And this for me is evidence that even though veterans and former leaders of the ANC are being listened to, but there is a particular strand that's room. And if you're outside of those the current hegemonic group wants to listen to, no matter what good or bad you may say, you will not be given audience, simply on the basis that you may be viewed to be opposed to that current group of political interest that is running and leading the party. And for me, that is a mistake on the part of the ANC leadership. The ANC leadership must be able to close ranks and close doors and be able to listen to everyone who cares about the ANC. Of course, with the idea that they reserve the right and they have the prerogative of taking the advice that they see good for them. But the idea that they may be members and leaders of the ANC who may not have audience of their leadership is problematic in itself. And this is not just with leaders themselves, even with ordinary members and current leaders in different spaces. If you are not, you may be seen to be not in support of the hegemonic group that is leading the ANC. You are not offered audience. But everyone carries the same membership. And for me, that's the critique that the ANC must really look at, because if they don't, the downward spiral that the ANC is in may not be something that they do not recover from. The renewal that they so much speak about may be something they never achieve if they are not frank and are not honest about the situation they are in, and that all their forces or soldiers inside the party are needed to make sure that they rescue from the ANC from the downward spiral that they are in.
Tobani, we got a minute and a half before I got to take an ad break, so I haven't even touched on this. What does it mean particularly for the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal?
It is a space of concern. The ANC KwaZulu-Natal may not be as stable as they want everyone to think. It is a point where it could be meaning that this current leadership of the ANC may not be in a position to be able to rescue the ANC from where the ANC currently finds itself on less than 20% of the vote in KwaZulu-Natal. Do they have a leadership that will be able to contest and be able to contest pound for pound with a party like the MK party, which has proven to be hegemonic? I mean, if last elections results are anything to go by, do they have the wisdom, the political courage and will to be able to deal with that? I do not think so.
Tabani Zikalala, political analyst from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. What do you make of that? Give us a call, 086 000 2032, and our voice note number, 0614 104 107.
Back-to-back champions, the Buccaneers are only interested in lifting up their third consecutive title. Meanwhile, Maroon and Gold, Stellies, want to ensure that black and white fans go to bed early. This is the MTN 8 final. Wafa Wafa. Catch the reigning champs Orlando Pirates up against Stellenbosch FC on Saturday, 5 October at 5:30 p.m. live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Mubango returns for an explosive new season on SABC 2. A renaissance of new beginnings, intrigue, and drama with old enemies and new characters. Catch the rebirth season of Mubango every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. on SABC 2 or stream it on SABC Plus. Mubango, Ukovela Panda. SABC 2.
The National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Let's take some voice notes. We got time. 0614 104 107.
Hello, John. Ask your guest what will happen if at one stage a character like Klope, who is impeached, is then nominated to become a president. Are they going to do what they are doing currently now? Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, John. Young in the Western Cape. Yeah, John, so sad to see our great leaders leaving the movement. One would have thought that they will stay inside and try to fight within, on conferences, making sure that these people who sold our movement to the DA, they don't come back. The likes of your Fikile Mbalula, Ronald Lamola, and Paul Mashatile, and the likes. So it's sad, but there's a little hope that people like Comrade Banyaza are going to fight within, to make sure that our movement it's back, from these elements of racism that Ramaphosa and Mbalula are embracing.
Good afternoon, brother John. John, this thing of taking off the vehicle off the road, it's a lie. It's a lie. It means more money in the pockets of the traffic cops, because it will be more intimidation. They will intimidate you until you give them something. They won't take out that car off the road. Because you are the customer, where will they eat if they do that? Because you are a customer, you bring money here in ATM. It means more cash in their pocket. That's what it means. They'll intimidate you until you give them something. I tell you, mark my word. Norman from Brixton.
Hi, John. John, some time ago I heard that there was it was in the news that there's a 30% decrease in fine collection, in revenue from fines. 30% decrease. Is this another cash cow for the officials?
How's it, John? Alex here. Here's a question. Now they take the license to scoff the windscreen. So you got to fix the defects. You go off, you go fix the oil leak, you fix the wires, or you change the tires, or you do whatever. How can you drive on the road, go and fix all the tires, do that, and then go drive to the testing station without the license disc on the vehicle? That's almost also legal. Not making sense. Give a warning right out and let him do it. Okay.
Yeah, they must give you, maybe they give you a little citation to say that you're allowed on the road to go to get your tires changed. I don't know the answer, but yeah, we'll see what comes out of it. We'll get hold of them in a couple of weeks. Where are we going? Luvo and Klebecha, hello.
Yes, hi, John.
Go ahead.
John, I've got a quick one here, man. I need your expertise here. John, we do have a GNU, right?
Yes.
The GNU, is it possible that you can find out, or you can bring someone in from the GNU, anyone who can explain to us as South Africans, what policies are they using? Are they using GNU policies, or are they using the failed policies of the ANC? What's happening there? Because there's a lot of confusion there. Because when I see as a South African citizen, what they're doing, they are using the old failed policies of the ANC, which is taking us down the drain as a country. Meaning the GNU, do they have their own policies? I'll leave it to your capable hands.
So I just want to understand. So I mean, obviously let's take an example. The Minister of Education, for example, DA member, she's going to come up with an idea, and she wants to put a bill forward.
Yes.
What will be behind the thinking of that bill? Is that what you're saying? Will it be a DA policy? Will it be an ANC policy? An Action SA policy? Or an Action SA is not in there. Will it be? Where will that idea come from? Is that what you're asking?
Spot on, John. Because now currently, we don't know what's happening in the country. You can see there's the president signing up something else there. Was that the part of the GNU? No.
You see, a lot of the things we're seeing at the moment have come from the previous government. It's not necessarily the new government yet. But I hear your point. So what is the agreement? Where is the line almost? Where's the decision making middle line?
Get them in the studio, please, John. I know you're capable of that.
I'm not, but I have fantastic producers who are excellent at that kind of stuff. Luval,
I know. Thanks, John, man. Have a good one.
All right, let's see. I think it's a great conversation for Kathy to have, because then you got time and you can ask the slow questions. I've only got 10 minutes at most to have that kind of conversation. Sofiso in Matuba, how's it?
Hey, good afternoon, John. How are you, man?
Lekker, go ahead.
All right, thanks. Just John, I want to comment on Comrade Willis Mtuno's decision, and I think, in my view, it must come from a very painful space. I don't think a 76-year-old will wake up and say, "Look, I'm leaving." And I think, because I'm an ANC member, I hope our leaders, whether in national or province, will be measured in how they respond to this. One of the things that I think we need to do urgently, because we are branch members, as part of this renewal, is to engage Comrade Willis. So don't be dismissive. Engage, hear his concerns, listen to him, and you can get whether this is not a seated feeling of a general and a large number of members of the ANC. So that is part of renewal. Those who are hurting, you listen to them, you work with them, and I think I must say it's a painful thing as an honorable member of the ANC to listen to read what Comrade Willis is saying, and I hope our leaders are measured in how they respond to him.
Yeah, you can hear it in his voice. I don't know if you heard me talking to him earlier, Willis Mkhunu, and you could hear it in his voice that he wasn't happy.
I can tell you now, I'm hurting myself, and that's why I hope our leaders are truly, truly measured in how they respond to him, instead of being dismissive. And this nonsense that people must leave, will continue with those who are left. I don't think it's going to work for the ANC. We can't proceed. And if it's renewal, it will mean we sit down with those we disagree with on certain issues.
It takes a very big leader, and I think we're struggling a lot at the moment. It takes a big leader to sit down with those that criticize them and listen to it and not take things personally. And I think at the moment,
my point,
a lot of politics is this personal thing, and there's these personal attacks on each other instead of focusing on the topics. It's become personal, and hopefully this will make the ANC leaders sit up a little bit and not take it personally. Say, let me hear what you have to say. I like what you're saying.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
John. Thank you.
Sofiso in Matuba with his views. Yeah, it's difficult. That's what good leaders do that. Bad leaders put their yes men around them and just accept what the yes men tell them. Yes, people, I guess. Money Web Market Update coming up. We've got traffic with Irma G. Toomey's got your sport in a moment. First news headlines at 5:30 with Greg Gross.
Jon Gericke on SAFM.
A look now at the headlines of this half hour. The High Court in Johannesburg has heard that the absence of the MK Party's parliamentary leader Jon Gericke will not render the processes of the JSC unlawful. The eThekwini municipality in KZN has disputed that its plans for water curtailment from next week equate to a schedule for water cuts. And Lesotho's King Letsie III has thanked those who've contributed to the development of Lesotho. More on that story and other news at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound is slow moving towards Crown Interchange. You're asked to expect delays in the central Sandton area. That's due to traffic restrictions in place for this weekend's F1 event. The N1 northbound in Midrand is slow moving towards Samrand Road, and the N1 northbound in Pretoria has a crash near Atterbury Road. In Durban, the N2 southbound queuing towards the M25 Commercial Highway, the N3 westbound in Pietermaritzburg. An earlier crash reported just after Ashburton exit has been cleared, but traffic is still slow moving. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound slow moving towards the M5 Koeberg interchange. The N7 Jakes Havel Drive southbound has a stationary truck reported after Voortrekker Road causing heavy delays. The N1 outbound slow moving as you approach Okavango Road, and the R300 northbound slow moving towards Hendel Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Doming Kapele.
Timmy, the Proteas are back.
The Proteas are back, but let's start off with the Proteas women at the World Cup. Proteas women captain Laura Fulvard says that despite their convincing win over the West Indies in the ICC T20 World Cup, the conditions were far from easy. SA beat the Windies by 10 wickets. West Indies posting 118 for 6 in their 20 overs. Nonkululeko Komlaba took 4 wickets while Marizan Kapp took 2. And in reply, captain Laura Fulvard top scored with 59 runs off 55 balls, and Tasman Brits hitting 57 of 52 balls. Next up for South Africa, it's England on Monday, and that one is at 4 p.m. Then moving on to the Proteas, who are in action against Ireland in the second ODI. South Africa posted 343 for 4 in their 50 overs, top scoring there at 112 unbeaten. So now it's time for Ireland to see if they can catch up, if anything, beat South Africa. Do you see them winning?
Oh, yeah.
Do you say yeah?
Proteas will win by a mile. No ways.
Sarcasm. But one to look forward to, it is the MTN 8 final tomorrow, and Orlando Pirates assistant coach Mandla Ncikazi says that he's well aware of the threats that come with playing Stellenbosch FC. Pirates will be looking to make it 3 out of 3, and Ncikazi says that for them to win the cup, they will have to overcome everything that will be thrown at them.
The stats are supporting the game they are playing. When you look at stats, they're the most counter-pressing team. The team that is very strong on transitions. It still is. It's up to us. While we are aware, like I said, how we deal with that on the day. But we know their strengths, and we have to deal with that to put our hands on the trophy and win the match. But like you have pointed out, we are aware. Titus, his strengths, we are aware. Even in the absence of Reyners that has gone, the structure has not changed. So the ability of them enjoying to defend, because they know the price of winning the ball after that, we know. So it's two contrasting styles. One team is more possession-based, one team is prepared to sit back and go on a transition. Whether you can have good offensive surveillance and win the ball, it will depend on match day. But I'm very optimistic that we can deal with that situation.
Let's move on to rugby. Ben Jason Dixon is the only change to the DHL Stormers starting 15 to face Zebre and Palmer tomorrow, with fellow Springbok Warwick Galant named on the bench. Dixon starts at blindside flanker for Dave Ewers. Jean-Luc du Plessis makes way for Galant, and the playmaker is joined on the word by tight head prop Sazi Sandi and veteran scrum half De Vault. Meanwhile, two Vodacom Bull stalwarts, Johan Grobler and David Kriel, will mark their 50th caps for the franchise when they face Ulster in the URC at Loftus Versfeld tomorrow. Meanwhile, Ruan Norkia and Kurt Liarense among the 8 returning Springboks named in the Vodacom Bulls run on 15. Looking forward to the action over there. But in marathon news, with just a month remaining, the Soweto Marathon is facing slower than expected entry sales, and despite this, the organizers, Soweto Marathon Trust, along with their partners at African Bank, they're not alarmed. The race, which is scheduled for the 3rd of November at Nasrec, has sold 15,000 entries with a revised target of 23,000, down from an initial goal of 25,000 due to time constraints. On the 30th of September, SMT extended the entry deadline indefinitely after surpassing 10,000 entries, and spokesperson Thokozani Mazibuko remains unfazed by the slower sales pace, expressing confidence that more runners will still sign up.
Well, I wouldn't agree much that it is a struggle. If you follow the pattern of people entering the races, especially Soweto, our people have got a tendency of entering at the last minute. And we have done our comparison, compared to last year, we were just above what we were on this time around. Just to answer your question, we have decided to extend the entries, and just on the verge of the announced closing, the entries started to pick up. So we hope that we will get to the numbers that we are anticipating.
So I wonder, the big question, is it because of the marketing around the Soweto Marathon, or it's just not an event that a lot of people want to go to anymore?
It's at the right time. It's in the right place.
Right.
It's got a big sponsor. I think, I was wanting to run 10Ks. I think it comes down to how much it costs to run these races. And I realize it costs a lot of money to put on a race. Road closures, JMPD, venues, all those kind of things. But then I looked at this, a 42K is only 380 Rand.
Sure.
But it's still 380 Rand in a time when we're really struggling at the moment. How much is the 10K? 10K, 280 Rand, 42K, 380 bucks. So I don't know.
So do you think it's too expensive now?
I don't have 380 Rand to run a marathon. But if I was a runner, I think that's not too bad, actually. If I want to qualify for Comrades.
Yes.
And I know there's a couple of colleagues of mine who are running this on purpose to qualify for Comrades. So, plus you got to join a club and all those kind of things. I don't know. I'm surprised. I thought
Maybe
the
our
Soweto
listeners
Marathon
can let us in.
Yeah, let us know.
If they used to run the Soweto Marathon and now they're just like, nah.
Yeah, why would you the Soweto Marathon?
I ran the 10 kilometer before. I'd actually run it again. But anyway, moving on to tennis. World number one, Iga Swiatek has split with Thomas Wiatrowski after 3 seasons working together. The 43-year-old joined Swiatek's team as a coach back in 2022 when she had gone 1 Grand Slam success to her name. She became the first Polish player to reach world number one in April 2022 and has spent 123 weeks at the top of the rankings. And we are yet to hear the confirmation of her new coach. Just ending things off with news just coming in from the Proteas side of things. Themba Bavuma has sustained a soft tissue injury on his left elbow. The injury occurred when he dived at the non-striker's end, trying to make ground in the 12th over of South Africa's innings. He will not take to the field, and Rassie van der Dussen will captain in his place. Unfortunate, very unfortunate.
Ouch.
Well, that's it. It's a wrap from my side. Have a
lekker weekend.
You too.
EFC 118 promises to be one of the most scintillating fight nights in recent memory, with 2 standout matchups. Fresh off his incredible run in The Ultimate Fighter, Rody Roots battles for the interim featherweight strap against deadly kickboxing specialist Ayanda Zwane, whilst the co-main event witnesses the return of the one and only Martin the Punisher Van Staden, who takes on fellow veteran Hanru the Bully Boda. EFC 118 from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For 18 years, Kumbulekaya has been fostering healing through forgiveness and reconciliation.
Are you asking me that? Yes. I grew up without a mom.
So what happened to your family?
What family? You are my family. What happened to you?
Witness as families forgive one another and reunite after a long time. Catch the new season of Kumbulekaya on SABC 1 every Wednesday at 9 p.m.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Let's get a quick update on what happened on the markets today. Good afternoon, Jimmy Muyaha.
Good afternoon, John. How are you?
Fantastic weekend, baby. Let's go.
That's it. We made it to the weekend. That's what counts.
tell me the markets are going to help me.
Not likely. The U.S. non-farms numbers came out today. You heard Pasrani give you an update on that a little earlier on. And those numbers kind of sent the market into a bit of a weird spell again. Numbers came in much stronger than expected. Unemployment came down, which basically suggests that the U.S. economy is still on the right track, and that the way in which the U.S. Fed has been managing the rate cut conversation has worked in their favor, which now also means we could potentially be seeing slower than expected rate cuts. Pasani alluded to this earlier, but the market kind of reacted initially very conservatively. I mean, the Rand went all the way up to 1760. We're back at 1748 at the moment, so it is looking positive. I think the markets are just now starting to see that perhaps we might just really achieve that soft landing in the U.S. Equity markets in the U.S. at the moment are in the green. Equity markets around the world closed in the green for the most part. South African markets not joining that party. I don't know why. We just decided we were going to have a bearish day, with financials being the only sector in South Africa that did close in the green. Industrials was down about 0.5%, resources about 0.1%. The oil share was down 0.15%, with the top 40 down 0.25%. We have a couple of data points to look forward to next week. But before we do that, let me give you a sense of where the oil price is sitting because of those tensions in the Middle East. We're sitting at about $78 a barrel now. We might hit $80 a barrel over the weekend. We've typically seen in the past that these escalations happen over a weekend, and announcements might happen over the weekend. OPEC at the moment is not too concerned about $78 to $80. They could potentially want to see that oil price a little lower so they could ramp up production, but the tensions there will continue to drive that more than anything else. Platinum and palladium pricing holding above $1,000 in each case. We're happy with that. We're going into the weekend, no complaints there. Gold price back at $2,650 odd an ounce after, again, having gone completely crazy when those numbers came out. Came as far down as 2,630, if I remember correctly. But by all accounts, the markets are seemingly going into the weekend with a bit more of a clearer direction around what's happening. We've got a couple of things to look into next week as well. Obviously, we'll start to see things like CPI prints from the U.S., looking at other data that's going to come through. Something interesting that came through today that we'll probably look at on our show on Monday is the South African Reserve Bank. They've issued administrative sanctions against both Bidvest Bank and HSBC, and that's quite interesting around the timing of that. The announcement came through moments ago, so very fresh news there. We're going to look into that over the weekend and see what we come back with next week, Monday. But certainly the SARB is doing a couple of things that are going to be of interest to investors, and we'll cover them on our show next week.
Look forward to all of that. Jimmy Moyaha, thank you very much. Have a lucky weekend.
Same to you. Same to you and to listeners.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.6 FM in Kimberley.
I said I'd read some SMSs. Well, I got a couple of SMSs. One says, please let people finish their point before engaging with them. I will do so. Second one says, hi, John, the analysis is bogus and biased. Actually, when a politician doesn't get what they hope for in their party, they jump ship to where they've been better promises and look for excuses. And now the GNU is a great scapegoat right now, says Joseph in Polokwane. Let's take some voice notes. 0614 104 107.
Hi, John. On the subject of traffic officers, I remember way back traffic officers speeding around on big motorbikes with shiny boots, and they were mostly kind of middle-aged guys, Afrikaans cops, and they were very parate. You wouldn't have thought to try and bribe them would be in your wildest dreams to try and bribe them. And so now what's changed with traffic cops? Why does everybody try to bribe traffic cops or think they can get away with it? Bribe traffic cops? Don't know. Thanks, Mike in Kabecha.
How's it, man? This is Anonymous from Pietermaritzburg. Please, can you find out where are the traffic officers in Pietermaritzburg? I have never been stopped in the 5 years of driving my vehicle. I've never seen traffic officers at intersections with robots not working. Yeah, if you could just maybe find out where are the traffic cops in Pietermaritzburg. I think even the local newspaper asked that question once, but there's absolutely no presence in Pietermaritzburg.
You're with SAFM. It's 5:45. Let's go to John in Soweto. Hello, John.
How's it done today, John?
Yeah, Leka, go ahead.
Yeah, good. I just wanted to say something about Willie Smith. I think, John, the man is tired, man. The man is tired, he's 70-something. He just wants to go and play with the grandkids, enjoy the pension money. Eh? At least he knows when to stop, unlike others.
I asked him that question, though, and he said no, he still has something to deliver to politics. In fact, his words were, a politician ends his politics when he's dead.
Yeah, but I think maybe he was maybe avoiding to say maybe.
You think? I didn't get the feeling he was going to retire.
Yeah, because at least he knows when to stop. Others, they don't know when to stop. They work until they drop. Look at what happened to Pravin. Pravin didn't enjoy his pension money. And Naledi Pando, even now, I'm sure she would still be in cabinet if it wasn't with the ANC losing the majority.
So you feel as if he's retired. You think that's where he's going?
I think maybe I know feeling that it's enough now.
Time will tell, as they say. John Soweto, thank you very much. Willie's Mkunu is 76 years old. I didn't feel as if he said he was retiring. I felt as if he was going to do something. Well, we will see. I think, like I said earlier, I think we know what's going to happen. But let's see. We might all be wrong.
Hey, John. So I'm wondering if what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So if we spot a police vehicle, a JMPD vehicle, that has got 3 or more defects on it, are we allowed to report it and have them taken off the road? Because a lot of those cars aren't roadworthy.
I want to say no.
How's it, John?
We played that one.
Alex.
All right, I think we played all the voice notes. Maybe some older ones. I think we might not have played this one.
John and fellow FM listeners, good day. My name is Tulani Nzima in Croydon. John, what a brilliant interview with former.
All right, so we've gone through all the voice notes. We'll take some more messages, and I think we've got a couple of calls lined up as well. Let's take a quick break.
Jon Gericke on SAFM.
You could give us a call, 086 000 2032, and our WhatsApp number, 0614 104 107. We were talking earlier. Oh, there's some news that's happened this afternoon. I wanted to raise this earlier. The EFF say they aren't surprised at the revelations uncovered in the Public Protector's report regarding Thabo Beste's escape. Remember, we spoke about this yesterday. This was at the Mangaung Correctional Centre. According to the EFF, the findings have confirmed the party's long-held belief that private prisons have devolved into environments where corruption and negligence thrive. They noted the report and highlights the failures of the Department of Correctional Services and the EFF, those officials who failed to fulfill their constitutional duty to protect the public from a dangerous criminal, delaying the reporting of Beste's escape for 6 months despite being aware that they had faked his suicide as early as May. They say it's not simply negligence, it's a symptom of the deeper rot within the Department of Correctional Services. So the EFF speaking strongly about that Public Protector's report about Thabo Beste's escape.
TS Galaxy Queens are chasing a vital win to breathe closer to the top 3 teams. However, TUT Matsatsanza want to have a good day in the office by grabbing full points. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Witness the Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. TS Galaxy Queens FC versus TUT Matsatsanza Ladies FC on Sunday 6 October at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Andile, the CEO of a multinational corporation, is driving home with his daughter.
Dad, why is the tooth fairy so stingy?
Stingy? Well, she makes sure everyone gets something.
Does everyone at your company get something?
Yes, they're covered by Old Mutual Corporate's employee benefits.
Even Abdul.
Of course, he gets retirement benefits.
And Sisampa on that big machine.
She gets group risk cover if that big machine hurts her.
Wow, that's amazing, Dad.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Mubango returns for an explosive new season on SABC2. A renaissance of new beginnings, intrigue, and drama with old enemies and new characters. Catch the rebirth season of Mubango every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. on SABC2 or stream it on SABC Plus. Mubango, ukovela panda. SABC2.
You are listening to Jon Gericke on SFM.
Let's finish off with some winning in our winning feature. Today we chat to Angela Jung, who's preparing to climb another challenge, challenging herself to climb Amma Dublam Mountain in Nepal, part of raising awareness on gender-based violence and femicide. She made history last year when she became the first South African woman to climb Mount Manaslu. Manaslu? How do you say it, Angela? Manaslu. And this one is Dublam Mountain.
Yes.
All right. Obviously, keen mountain climber. Tell us about Amma Dublam Mountain.
One of the blind is called the Mother Nicholas. It's in the Himalaya in Nepal. It's one of the most beautiful mountains amongst all the mountains because it's very prominent. You will see right on the way you go to Everest Base Camp, you will see it right in front of you. So one of the most beautiful mountains in Himalaya.
What's it like to climb?
This one is 6,812 meters. It's going to be a very technical climb, and it's one of the preparations for Everest. So it's going to be a very strenuous climb.
Yeah, it was amazing. I've spoken to mountain climbers. I've spoken to Everest summerists. I don't know. And I've talked to people like you, and I'd never known just how difficult these climbs are. It's not a steep hike. This is proper climbing that you guys are doing, like with picks and axes and things.
Exactly, and especially this one is very technical, as I say. It's a lot of rock climbing in between, and you will also still climb and seeing snow on top. And yeah, it's going to be a big challenge for the body. And also something when you climb, you need to acclimatize yourself. And you climb up, you sleep down, you climb up again, you come back to the base camp and sleep. It can be really, really distressing. And if you don't go there with the right mindset.
I'm reading the Google reviews on Dublin. It's got 4.8 out of 5 stars. So it sounds spectacular.
Exactly. Yeah, it's gonna be.
How do you? Are you wearing oxygen when you go up there?
No. So you only need oxygen when you get to 7,000 meters.
All right.
Yes.
This is borderline.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So if you climb 8,000 meters, that you will have to have oxygen. And with 6,800 meters, it's very thin, but you still can, you don't really need so much oxygen like you get to 8,000 meters.
But altitude sickness and all that kind of stuff is definitely there.
Yes, it could be. It's one of the killer mountains in the Himalaya.
It all sounds horrific and really challenging. Why are you doing this?
Exactly. Why am I doing that? Yeah, you always ask yourself, why are you doing that? I think knowing the why is so important. And because, of course, like you say, I'm priming for gender-based violence, femicide. And because through all the activities that we've been doing for contribution and distribution to sanitary pad, to the bras, we realized there were 2,700 women die from gender-based violence, and thousands of women actually die every year. And so for Imperial Collection Foundation, we have this program called Empower Her, and we are busy collecting 8,848 bras. That is the height of Mount Everest.
All right.
Exactly, yeah. So in 2021, we collected 6,200 bras, and we display at the Constitutional Hill and handing the memorandum to the Department of Public Safety. And yeah, so it was so much that we actually been doing to echo what we do for Empower Her. So that's why I climbed 6,200 meters that year in Island Peak. It's also part of the Himalaya mountain. And now, yeah, so that is the why. I know my why, knowing people are suffering. We are climbing a mountain for the mountain. For us as South Africans, we need to overcome this mountain and just also focusing on the educational center and a program that we're going to implement for the victim of gender-based violence.
And it's so fitting, I guess, that Dublin, as you said, means mother's necklace. So it all comes together for women.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yes, exactly.
When you're climbing something like this and you're doing something for this kind of charity and you want to turn back, there must be a point in every climb where you go, this is just one more meter and I just can't anymore. How important is knowing this why you're doing it again.
Exactly. You know, when I climb Manaslu, when I get to the top of Manaslu, I hold up my flag at the same time I hold up the bra. And people, you know, some of the climbers are looking at me, what are you doing with the bra? You know, and also when we climb by the base camp, I hang up the bra. And there were so many questions. It was taboo. People would not understand why would someone climbing for a course, they would climb for themselves. And that also shows, and people start talking about it. Yeah, this actually also happened in my country. It's not just happening in South Africa. So we have like 48 countries around the world come together and climb the mountain, and like 300 mountaineers. And then it wasn't just an awareness for us. It's awareness for the whole international. It become a world awareness. I think that's something. It gives me more. It just gives me more power to keep going with that.
So, as you said, this is all a step to Everest. Is that the big goal for you, Angela?
Yes, next year.
Next year. So, when are you doing the? Oh, I didn't ask that. When are you doing this mountain climb?
Everest, you can only climb.
No, I'm a Dublin. When are you doing?
I'm a Dublin. I'm doing next week. I'm going.
But it's getting into winter. What's it like?
Yeah, it could be from -20 to -40 when you get to much. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's next week. You're ready. Are the legs fit and strong, and you're healthy and feeling good?
Yes, I'm feeling good.
Okay. And then Everest. If you're already raising 8,848 bras, what is the goal for Everest?
Everest is also. What do you mean? You mean
you got to go bigger? You got to go bigger. 16,000 bras.
No, that's the aim. So we only. Okay, John, I have to ask your help as well because we only collected this year. We only collected around 3,000 or around 4,000 bras.
Okay.
We are still collecting until the time that I get to start climbing, and we need to ask everybody to help if we're still collecting.
Okay.
And
we're running out of time. So where do we go? If I want to support you and support GBV and all the other things that you're doing, where's the best place to go?
Yes, so please visit our website, www.impilofoundation.org, and that's all the information are there. If anybody would like to drop off, it's around the whole country. We have points from Cape Town to Durban, Johannesburg. So any loved used bra, they can actually donate. Or it's 25 rand, you can buy a new bra. They can also do a donation.
Impilo Foundation. Thank you very much. Angela Jung, preparing to climb for another challenge. Find out more on the Impilo Foundation website, as you heard. Oliver's next at 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Arguments in court in MK Party's JSC case, and Durban Mayor clarifies water plans. Good evening. The High Court in Johannesburg has heard that the absence of the MK Party's parliamentary leader, Jon Gericke, will not render the processes of the JSC unlawful. This is the submission made by advocate Ngwako Manetja, who is representing the Judicial Service Commission in the MK Party's urgent challenge against it. The party is seeking a declaratory order that the decision of the JSC not to postpone its looming interviews is unconstitutional. The JSC, by a majority vote, decided to proceed with next week's interviews and said it was bound by the Western Cape High Court ruling, which interdicted Gericke from taking part in the sittings. Manetja explains.
While the courts have acknowledged that the list of office bearers composing of the JSC is carefully structured, the cases confirm that the absence of a JSC member does not, without more, invalidate the proceedings or the JSC or its decisions. And that's where we tend to the relevant judgments, because they make it very clear that it is only when the absence lacks proper justification that there might be a nullification of JSC proceedings and decisions. But where there's proper justification, there isn't.
However, legal counsel for the MK parties argue that the JSC committed a material error in law when it failed to appreciate the effect that the Western Cape High Court order has on its looming interviews. Advocate Dalian Pofu submitted that the Commission misconstrued the impact of Klope's exclusion from the JSC proceedings.
We're not attacking the order. We're simply saying its constitutional impact results in the JSC, as matters currently stand, being improperly constituted. So if the constitutional impact of that valid order of the Western Cape High